As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Great job. Great job. Here's what's crazy is at some point we're going to look back and say, man, we just got 13 wins, franchise record. Detroit Lions, never done this before in the history of this franchise. We're going to be able to look back and say that. But not yet. Not yet. Because you know what we got to do next week? We got to win, man. We got to win. But we said play Detroit Lions football. We did that and get the W. You guys did that. And we may roll it all the way down the table just like this. You find a way to win the game. And we found a way to win the game. We lean on each other, and we use all parts. All right? That's a good job, man. I got one game ball. I don't even know the stats. Critical. Great job, St. Brown. No, it's you. Here we go.
Let's keep going, man. Like you said, let's keep going. Love y'all.
Good. And everything we got goes into San Fran. Everything we got, man. Great win. Break it out.
Hey, big win today. You know, we got to keep stepping, keep going forward, never backwards. Gang on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
There you go. Look at that locker room celebration after a, I'll take every win. I don't care. I guess it was against the Chicago Bears. Who cares? Lions win. Eagles lose. They're in a good spot. They're in a good spot, Booner. It wasn't just beating the Bears. It was what happened around the NFL. That's what matters. And we are here today, Jeff Booner, live here on Crunch Time Sports. We got a packed show today, Booner. Victory Monday before Christmas.
Let's go. Hey, it feels different, the Victory Monday, because it was like, hey, you were supposed to take care of business versus Chicago Bears anyway. So I'm pumped up. I'm like Dan Campbell, though. There are some that are a little bit more, I'll come with the chain, the glasses, all of that, the whole lowdown or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Today, it's like it was business. All right, we took care of someone we're supposed to take care of. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Let's figure this thing out. And then we move on to San Fran. And we go get the ones. Week 18. Hey, Jeff. Week 18 looks a lot better. Hey, like a lot more important than we thought. A lot more important than we thought. So it's a big 2 weeks here. Big 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can. In this video I'm going to play here, it's a great video. In Dan Campbell's post-game press conference, you can hear the team celebrating when the Eagles lost.
Man.
Yeah, because it happened all live. We watched it during our post-game show and reacted, but here's that clip of Dan at the presser and what followed during the Eagles loss.
Control the game, and it just, I thought we played that game the right way. Thought we played it the right way. So it's a good job.
Just had a lot of guys watching Washington just go up on Philadelphia this night.
Oh, they did? I didn't know what that was. Oh, how much time's left? Yeah, I got you. Well, why don't we just sit here and wait for this?
Yeah, that was great.
That's hilarious, dude.
Yeah, Jeremy
it.
Reisman put that on Twitter, man. It was a great get. It was during his post-game presser, and yeah, the win. I'll say this, man. The Chicago Bears, you were supposed to beat them. We all understand that. What we all knew that. Booner, we picked a multiple score win over the Bears. We all kind of agreed. But it's not it's not about celebrating beating the Bears. It's celebrating not losing, staying alive for the number 1 seed. You just had Minnesota take down Seattle. Why does Seattle all of a sudden forget how to play football when we need them to win?
It's Geno Smith. That man, he does not know how to play football. Did you watch the end of that game?
Yeah,
the last 3 possessions. It's you just go get a field goal the last 3 possessions. He doesn't know how to throw the ball away. He takes every sack. Him and DK Metcalf are never on the same page. It's ridiculous. They should have won that game by 2 scores.
Ridiculous.
They should have.
I think the Vikings we're running it back this week because they got the Packers and they beat the Packers early in the year. So you got one more lifeline here for the Lions
in Green Bay.
I think this one's in Minnesota.
Man,
because they beat the Packers in Green Bay early.
It's perfect. Now they can split. Let's
Now
get
they
a
can
split.
They
Love
need
that.
it. It's a. By the way, hey Xavier McKinney Tucker Craft. Little did you know you're helping the Lions. So appreciate
Yeah.
you for that.
We
Helping
need
the
you.
Lions. But yeah, it's not about beating the Bears. It's about staying alive for the number 1 seed. You had the Commanders upset the Jalen Hurts-less Eagles yesterday, which was massive. And the Lions, out of any team in the NFL right now, Booner, they need the number 1 seed the most. It's not debatable. There's no argument. They need that bye week to get guys healthy for obvious reasons. They just do.
Can I just ask you a quick question? I'm sorry, I'm backtracking here. This is on me. You know how my brain works. Why did Amon-Ra St. Brown get the game ball? Did I miss something?
I was a little confused too.
He said a critical, so maybe he made a big play down the stretch that we don't really know about. A block or something? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know because they were joking like he was giving it to JMO. I thought JMO probably should have gotten it, but
I just popped
like
in
an
my head.
inside joke. I don't know. It should have been probably Jameer or
JMO would have been my pick. I mean, the man had 140 yards. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was actually supposed to go to JMO. Amon-Ra took it, acted like he got it. Maybe that was it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to backtrack.
No.
I was okay. I was like, we just glazed over that. Didn't really say anything. I was like, what's happening? No, yeah. I mean, I'm with you. You have to, and this is the thing too, where I'm a little, and I think you talked about this early on in the season, Jeff, but like getting the 2, even if you're in the 2 seed or if you're the 5 seed going on the road, I will say like, I think that the Lions will get the 1 seed and like, yeah, that's all going to happen, but it is important. The thing with that though, it's like, say you do get the 5 seed, which again, knock on wood, don't think you will. Lions have proven to win on the road, and I've been starting to think a little bit more like that game yesterday. Like if you had to go to Philly in the cold, in the snow, the one player that determines if you win or lose is Jared Goff. 2 gloves Goff for the longest. Like Caleb texted me yesterday and was like, hey, I want to do a social post and wanted to see Goff's stats with the 2 gloves and in the cold under, a certain degree. And I texted back and said, hey, you're probably like, we could do it. Because I think he was trying to prove like, hey, Goff can play in that weather. He hasn't been great in that weather before, like this year or last year. Like he has had games and they've won games. But I think it was it was the Hammer that had mentioned on 97.1. I think it was like in games where he wears the gloves over the last few years, he had like 2 touchdowns, like 6 interceptions. But the last 2 games, the one in Lambeau Field and the one here that we just saw yesterday, he is very good in, and he looked extremely good yesterday. And like that gives you a little bit more confidence because that's one of those things where it's like it made it that more important to get the 1 seed was because, hey, your quarterback usually hasn't played well in the snow or hasn't played well in the cold weather. Now he is, and he's starting to turn that corner to where he's becoming a vet that knows how to play in the weather, and he's been in Detroit for years now. So the Southern Cal guy or the Cal guy, I don't know if he's from Southern Cal, but the Cal guy, he is now used to the cold weather. Like he has now adapted to it. He knows how to play in it. So I think it is important. And I think like next week, this Vikings game versus the Packers is huge because if you get into a battle at Ford Field with the Vikings, they're finding ways to win games just as well as you are. And it's going to come down like the 1 seed is going to come down to a 1 possession. Like that's a 1 possession game. This isn't a game where you're going to go in and blow out the Vikings. This is a game where, and Dan knows that, this is a game where it's like, hey, you just have to win by 1 point. And you get the 1 seed. And that game, if you drop that game, you go from having home field advantage for the whole playoffs and a bye week to the 5 seed where you're on the road the whole playoffs. And you don't even have a home playoff game. So all of those fans, everyone that put down a deposit for a divisional, a deposit for the NFC Championship game, all those get returned. And guess what? You don't even get to see a home playoff game. So like these next 2 weeks are important. Like you have to take care of business in San Fran to even give yourself a shot for that. And you have to be ready to play on week 18. We thought this thing was locked up. I remember having the conversation. What was it? I can't even remember when the Lions won like 4 or 5 straight after that Bucs loss. I think we had a segment, Jeff, that was, hey, when will the Lions lock this up?
Mailbag question.
Yeah. And I specifically remember, I can't remember your answer, but I remember Klotz saying,
it's already locked up.
Locked up. And I'm like, Klotz, let's get to week 17, 18 and see where this is at. But he was like, no, there's no like, but like again, and this isn't that Klotzy, but like who would have known that the Minnesota Vikings were going to win 13 games, potentially 14 going into that matchup? Like it's historically great division. Like this is the best division of all time in the NFL. I think if you look at like record wise, and I'll look it up here in a second, I think it's the best of all time in NFL history. I don't know if there's ever been a division that has put out 2 14-win teams. And there's an opportunity if both teams win next week. You have minimum 2 14-win teams and a 15-win team, like, which I think is historically great. So
I will, to your point, before I get to Goff, because I do want to comment on that, because I think it's worth a convo now that what he did yesterday. But the Lions will know the result of that Packers-Vikings game when they play on Monday. So think about that. They'll know.
Oh, Monday Night Football. Yes. Oh, I didn't even think of that. That makes that game important.
Yeah. They'll know, like, if the Vikings lose that game on Monday, it's important no matter what. You got to win, but they'll know, okay, Vikings just dropped one. Got to strike while the iron's hot. You know, like now it's going to be probably even more urgency. But I think the Jared Goff cold weather narrative was always it was always bullshit. I mean, let's look at it from the obvious. Jared Goff's played in California, grew up there. He's never been an East Coast guy, right? To play out, especially in snow. Like that's not necessarily a environment he's played a ton of snaps in or has grown to be comfortable in. Like Josh Allen, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, he had no choice but to get used to playing in that weather, and he's obviously excelled. But for Jared Goff, it's like, watch him in Detroit now that he's here. I know they play in a dome, but in divisional, you go to Lambeau. You're going to play other teams outdoors, like they played Carolina, a couple years ago and got ran all over. But still, like, you're going to get more of those outdoor games. He's gotten better and better and better. So, like, that narrative to me is just ridiculous. Like, the guy has to get acclimated to playing outside, and now that he has, he's thriving. He's playing well. He's comfortable playing in Lambeau. He's comfortable now. He's shown he can play in Chicago. So, to me, at least, that narrative's dead. Like, that narrative's pointless. No quarterback likes to play outdoors, but quarterbacks that typically do play well are guys that are used to it, like Mahomes. I mean, dude, they're playing at Arrowhead late in the season every year. He's adapted to playing in that crappy weather. Like Josh Allen, these guys.
It takes a little bit to get used to, too. I feel
like let's look at it from, like, they're humans at the end of the day. Like Jared Goff, like he's never had to play in snow, and now you just throw him out there, and you're like, he's not that good. Well, yeah, no dip, dude. He hasn't played much of any snow cold games in his career. So it's like that narrative was always stupid to me. Like it was always,
it's like anything that you do, like example, like us doing a show or us doing this in this industry. Like the first couple of years that I did shows and podcasts, people would be like, oh, this guy sucks. I mean, he's not good. But it's like, okay, as I get going, as I adapt, you're going to learn. It's the same thing with Goff and cold weather. It's like, hey, yeah, the first couple of years, he's not going to play great in the snow. Like, that's just what it is. Like, he's trying to figure out, different plays that you have. I mean, it's a different style of play you have to play because of the snow and because of the cold. And it's like he has to adapt to that, figure that out. So now, like, year 4, year 5, year 6, like, he's only going to get better playing in the cold weather. Like, he's going to get used to it eventually. Like, the more you do something, the nicks and the crannies that you figure out, like this, hey, this is what we have to do to be able to win this. So I think he's finally, like, they've gotten over that. I'm with you on that. I think people might have used that a little too much the first couple of years.
I mean, yeah.
And it's like, come on now. And you play your home games in a dome, so does it really matter? You only have a couple games in the cold a year. Now that he's gotten used to it, look at that,
Yeah, and there's tons of quarterbacks. No, it's like, name me, like, there's quarterbacks in the league, like I said, that play in the snow, that thrive, that are used to playing in the snow. But give me quarterbacks that aren't playing in the snow every week that just thrive in the snow. Like,
so, hey, people act like he's Tua in the snow. I mean,
yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Great example, because he's never really adapted at all. He's never had to play, but even when he is, he's never shown any growth there. So, yeah, it's a pointless combo. I will say, Dan did give some praise for the win. But before we get to that, I wanted to mention Ben Johnson. Do you think, because the trick play was incredible, like the trick play was, on the watch party, if you guys were tuning in, me and Lukas were both like, no way in hell that was a trick play. No way in hell. Didn't believe it. We have some players here. I think we have Jared commenting on it as well. I want to play.
Dude, by the way, if you look at the side angle, like live, that looked so real. Like, they executed that very well. Like, there's no better way. And then I saw a couple different videos, like the offensive line. I don't know if you saw this video, Jeff. I saw a clip on the radio. They played a clip of it. and you could hear the offensive line screaming fumble. So like they thought like they were all trying to. Yeah, like it wasn't just and kudos to Ben Johnson too, because Ben Johnson, after Jared Goff tripped a couple weeks ago, going to Jared Goff and being like, hey, we should use that, like we can use that to our advantage. And we could have a playoff of that, you tripping, you know. So like the mindsets in that room, and Jared to be like, hey, we should have Jameer trip as well. We should have the guys yell fumble. Like the details, and like these guys are on a different level right now. That's why this offense is the way it is. Like you have the players, but these guys, like their intelligence of football, including Jared Goff and all this, it is insane.
At the end of the day, it's a kid's game, and Ben treats it as
you should.
Yeah, not that he like. Now, I'm not saying he treats it like a kid's game, like he doesn't take it serious. Definitely takes it serious, but the way he just has fun creating plays like Madden, and guys are just like the buy-in. Everyone's buying into it, and then it works because if you're the Bears, how could you possibly prepare for that in real time? Like, how can you react? Okay, if you're a player, if you're Tremaine Edmonds or whoever, and you hear fumble, and two guys trip, like the normal reaction would be, there's a fucking fumble. Like there's a fumble. Who would have thought like, hold on guys, it's a fake. Like this is what it's a fake. And there's going to be an open Sam Laporta. And then you hear, I think it was Amon-Ra talk about it. They took it from the Packers because Jordan Love tripped. And it was actually on purpose though. He didn't, or not on purpose. It was an accident. He didn't mean to trip, but he got an open Tucker Kraft in the play.
That's unbelievable then. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, because Jordan actually tripped, though. And then he threw a wide open pass to Tucker Kraft, and they're like, fuck it, let's do it. And then, yeah, I heard national talking heads. I watched something this morning, and two things they brought up. Do you think he did that? I think it was Schrager who said this, though. He did it, you think, just to put some salt in the wound of like, hey, Bears front office. This is what I can do. I'm cooking you boys right now on offense, and you guys are looking for an offensive mind. Not that he'll take the job, but just to kind of brag a little bit.
Yeah.
And they also brought up, why use it now? Why use it in the Bears game?
That's interesting, actually.
But do they not understand this man's bag is deep? Like there's probably 20 plays like that already waiting in his arsenal. Like that's what they have to understand.
I agree with that. I do agree also is like I would rather use that in the Vikings game and get a touchdown in the. I see their point with that. I do. But again, to your point, like in the Dallas game, like Dallas was not a good football team, and they used a million trick plays in that game.
Yeah.
They did everything. And then you're like, oh man, they used everything. Oh, next week, another trick play. Oh, the next week, another. Like Ben just keeps finding different ways. And it's not even just Ben. Do you remember the one time Ben came out and had mentioned that they have a bunch of different guys who watch film and guys who look at, hey, where can we attack trick plays at? They have like a staff that is like strictly on trying to find trick plays and advantages with trick plays, which is incredible. It's insane to me.
Let me see. I'm looking at some of these comments here. Here's Johnny. Remember the Goff to Monty trip handoff on 4th down versus the Pack?
That's where I thought it came from. And I heard the video. I thought that's what they were talking about, but I didn't know the Green Bay or that Jordan Love happened. So like it was like an even deeper.
Yeah,
I mean, like they're watching around the league and they're finding different ways to take advantage, things to take advantage of.
Let's hear from Jared Goff. He spoke about the trick play, so we'll get his kind of take on it. You know, Jared's so cool, calm, and collected. He's just like, "Yep, trick play, planned all along." It's like, all right, Jared.
So many at this point; they're just so used to it.
Well, yeah, but here's Jared. Let's take a listen. Here's Jared Goff on that play.
When did that start? What was your reaction with that one down on paper for the first time? And Dan said you worked on it all week. That was the best you would run it in the game. Actually, what was the genesis of that?
We did work on it all week. We ran it probably 3 or 4 times through the week, and the genesis was that's a good play for that scheme. It is, but they're in tune with it on defense. That is a good play, and that it's hard to get that on them because those linebackers are so dang good at seeing it develop. So there, at first it started on Monday with Ben asking me if he thought I could like actually fumble on purpose and pick it back up. I was like, I don't know about that, and that we kind of got off that pretty quickly, and we're like, let's just pretend we're falling or pretend I'm fumbling and I'm holding on to the ball. And I think the part that Gibbs where he dives really sells the play. You know, I'm only doing half of it. But yeah, it worked. It worked like a charm, and it was nice to score there.
So
Wow.
the key part of this whole operation to me was Gibbs tripping. Like he had to, or jumping on the ball, acting like, because Jared does his little his little fake trip. But then when Jameer dove on the ground, I was like, all right. And then you hear fumble, fumble, fumble. That was incredible.
I mean,
they probably have something, to your point, saved for the Vikings game that we don't even know yet. Something just wild.
I've been saying it all year long because it was we had a conversation and I was like, listen, even in the playoffs, we probably this season, 17 games, we have probably only seen half of Ben Johnson's playbook. There are probably different looks and different schemes that he's saying, hey, I have these set to the side just for when the playoffs come. We're hiding different things. We're not going to show everything. We're not showing our full hand. We're going to show half of our hand. We're not showing our full hand. So I think like there's 30, 40, 50 trick plays that they have ready to go versus the Rams, the Bucks, the Eagles, the Packers, the Vikings. Like they have things ready to go for each team. And I think it's things they also have things like this and all the different parts, like them executing that, Jeff. Jameer falling, the offensive line yelling fumble, Jared Goff, athletic as can be to be able to fall, to trip, hold the ball, boom, come up. So even if he was faking it, that man, I mean, he sold it. He sold it. And really, like those plays, like you only need a half a second for Sam Laporta, for like those guys to break in for a second. And if you watch the play at the end of it, when Laporta's going, there's like 4 defenders that are behind him just chasing him. And they're like, oh no. Like instantly, I feel like after they realized it, every single secondary player started running towards Laporta. And you could see, like, hold on, I could try and find the picture of it. I'm going to go see if I can find the picture. But those guys just like looking like, man, like that has to be so defeating to be able to get beat like that. And
no, it is.
That you did.
It is. It is. And it's not even like they're trying to embarrass you. They just want to score on every play. So they're going to try everything in order to do that. That's just how Ben thinks, Jared thinks, Dan thinks. So it is what it is. They're going to compete. You got to find a way. You got to be ready at all times. You have to be ready. I mean, you might see Penei Sewell with the rock trying to throw a pass. We just saw that. So anything can happen.
I mean, it gets skipped over so much, no pun intended, but the Dan Skipper touchdown last week. Yeah. Like, I feel like that. I mean, it was talked about for a little bit, but like every single week, like a couple weeks ago, the Penei thing, the Dan Skipper thing, the Taylor Decker stuff, like it's crazy. It's crazy what they do. And even yesterday, like that wasn't the only trick play. They had the reverse. They had the reverse to Jamo, the Jahmyr Gibbs handoff. Jahmyr Gibbs runs it basically like, oh, it looked like he was going through the tackles. Boom, pitches it to Jamo coming around. And Jeff, you were like, that was almost like a loss of 5 on a trick play. Turns it into an 8-yard gain.
Yep. Well, let's let me get this going because Dan spoke more about the game after the game. We have some clips here. We'll get into kind of your faith level or confidence level in the Lions still being able to win a Super Bowl. We'll have that discussion, but let's play some of these clips from Dan Campbell after the game. So let's take a listen.
The 2 most important things for me was I wanted to see us play Detroit football, and I wanted to win. That was it. I gave no other stipulations. Now we have all the, offensively, defensively, we have the keys to victory over that. But basically, that's what I saw. I just wanted to see our identity take shape, and I wanted to win this game, and we did that. So now we're back on our feet.
Okay, Dan, and this is what we kind of assumed going into the game is Dan just wants to win by 1. He cares more about the getting back to what they are as a football team rather than like a certain score. He just wants the line. He wants to win a certain way. It's not about winning by 50. It's about, are we winning and playing Detroit Lions football? Are we stopping the run? Are we running the football effectively? Playing our style of football, because it's very easy for teams to get away from their identity mid-season. The Lions did that against the Bills defensively. They forgot how to stop the run for whatever reason. I know Lee McNeil wasn't there, but they did it again today, or they did it today, or yesterday, very well. So getting back to what they're good at, Dan, I think to his point, that is what matters. He also did say there's plenty of things they do need to work on, and we'll talk more about that. But what'd you make of kind of Dan's comments wanting to get back to Detroit Lions football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty easy when you come off a loss like the Bills, and again, we've talked about it throughout the week. Like even with the injuries, the outside noise was pretty loud. Even at our show, every single show around the city, fans, like the outside noise was loud. That this team take a big step back with the injuries and losing to the Bills, all the concerns. The only thing you can do at that point is be like, okay, we got to look forward and we got to win. And it's like, Jeff, I had mentioned it yesterday. It was like, hey, how confident are you if they only win by a field goal, if they don't even cover? And then that was the question where it was like, yeah, you're probably not as confident. The fact that they were able to turn this thing around and go win by 3 possessions, essentially, that's where I think you start to turn your heads a little bit and say, like, a normal NFL team, and we've seen it with the San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys with all of their injuries, those teams couldn't bounce back from injuries. And it's not like they lost Christian McCaffrey. That's a big piece, but like they still have Debo. You still have George Kittle. You still have your quarterback. You still have, Fred Warner, all these defensive players, and they haven't been able to bounce back. The Lions have lost probably double of what that team has lost. And I'm talking about not just player-wise. I'm talking about players that impact their team. And they have found a way to still win 13 games. They have found a way to, hey, after we lose to the Bills and we lose our star defensive tackle, our number 1 corner, it's the NFL. I don't care how bad the Bears are. You're able to go out there and win a 3-possession game. You're able to, regain your identity of what you are as a franchise. It changes everything, I feel like, Jeff. And I did say, like, no matter what happened yesterday, my meter's not going to – it moved a little bit yesterday, being like, okay, I slept on it. I slept on it. I slept on it. When you wake up, though, I woke up this morning, I'm like –
yeah.
After watching the Cowboys last night and all of and the announcers kept saying, like, dude, the injuries that they had. And I'm like, thinking about it, it's like, the injuries they had, like the Lions lost Aiden Hutchinson, Anzo, Carlton, like they've lost they have 20 guys on the IR and they have 13 wins. And you're telling me the Dallas Cowboys losing a couple guys. I know they lost Dak, but like even before that, they were bad. Even before Dak, they weren't winning. Like they weren't going to make the playoffs. And I'm like the 49ers too, like watching them at 4:00. I was like, listen, man, like this Lions team, it's like a different level. Like they've lost everyone and they just find ways to win. So it's like they're going to start getting guys back, Jeff. They're going to start figuring my meter has moved because no matter who they have playing, they're going to play Lions football. And that's just a fact about it. And this Dan Campbell Lions football, Jeff, the end goal of that, and you put, Detroit Lions football equals what? Winning. That's it. They're going to find a way to win. So like yesterday was a positive foot forward for me with this Lions team, knowing like, hey, they're still a Super Bowl contender. They could have anyone they want on their team, maybe outside of the quarterback position, and they're going to find a way to compete for a Super Bowl at the end of the day because that's just who they are. And that's what's, I think, special about it. It's kind of like the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs could lose guys, and Klotzy's like, they lost this player. Listen, they're going to find a way to win the football game. As long as you have your quarterback, who cares who these other players are? You're going to find a way to win because you have Andy Reid, you have Spagnuolo, you have Mahomes, you have Ben Johnson, you have AG, you have Dan Campbell, and you have Jared Goff. That's winning football.
You have the culture.
Yes. So like nothing else really matters. Like, yes, it is a bonus, but like they're just going to find a way to win. That's what I took out of yesterday. Like my meter moved. I promised you guys my meter wasn't going to move. It moved.
You slept on it. Yeah, you
slept on it. Hey, sleep does some good for you.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll say this: my meter hasn't moved, and I'll explain why.
At all? Not once?
No, because
where's the heartbeat at? You said they have a little beat.
I thought they do have a heartbeat, yeah, of course, but we were in a pact. We had something last week. We said, you know what? Collectively, we're going to enjoy this win, but we're not going to. This is where me and you part. Me and you parted a little bit, just a little bit. You took a little more. I thought that was a good win. They beat the team. They beat a team they're supposed to beat. And honestly, I give the Lions so much credit for that because we see teams like the Eagles struggle to beat bad teams, like the Panthers, the Jags. They beat them, but it's like, they get lucky a little bit. The Lions take care of who they're supposed to take care of. I give them a lot of credit for that. But to me, the game that's going to move my meter a little bit is going to be the Vikings game. Not that I look at the Vikings as the Eagles or the Lions. Like, I think the Lions are still better than the Vikings, but they're a good team. That, to me, if I watch that game at home in Ford Field and they take care of the Vikings, I don't care about score or anything, like 1 point. I don't care what it is. I'll say, okay, because you beat the Vikings and you got some guys coming back. So for me, it hasn't moved yet, Boone. But I will say, I can't say I don't give them any credit for a win. I'll give them credit. I mean, they whooped the Bears. I mean, they whooped that.
Yeah.
They whooped that defense, and that they have some good pieces on defense. And the Lions offense just scored at will, essentially. So offensively, check. We already knew they were great. Defensively, I thought stopping the run and getting turnovers was a positive sign because that's what you were waiting to come back. It was made very clear to me. I got reminded. This is the game plan for this year in the postseason. Is exactly last year. You just have you have better players at certain positions, worse players at other positions. It kind of balances out. Like you have better corners, but you don't have Hutch or Aline.
Yep.
So it's like you're taking and giving, but it's the same identity. They have to go into the playoffs, bend don't break, force turnovers, stop the run.
Like I think you're in a pretty
confirmed yesterday. That's their plan moving forward.
I think you're in a pretty similar situation, maybe a little bit more ahead than you were last year going into the playoffs, just based off of that. You have a chance to get the 1 seed and you have a couple other players that you upgraded. But like, you remember last year, think about it last year, Jeff, like you had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And if you get in the Super Bowl, you already beat the Super Bowl champions. So it's like, you have a good opportunity to go win a Super Bowl last year, 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. So if you're telling me, Jeff, last year, hey, let's run that back, I'm all in because you already did it. Like you just had to finish the job. So like that's where like the beat to me, it's right. Hey, it's going. Yeah. Like I'm ready to go. Like there's no.
I get that. My when I think of a Super Bowl, when you look at Super Bowls, when a team's matching up with another team and there's 2 teams, you typically look at past Super Bowls, right? And tell me if I'm wrong on this. And you look at moments. There's players that have moments in a Super Bowl, whether it's Aaron Donald sacking Joe Burrow on the last play.
You don't always need a moment. You
need moments in a
Levi
Super Bowl.
O can have his moment, all right?
But I'm not okay. Not saying he can't have a moment, but you would feel last year I'd feel more confident because I can be like Hutch will have a moment.
For sure. He's still good in the Super Bowl. Let's not come on.
I mean, based on what he's saying, you're not. I guess you're not.
I heard reports yesterday. Ian Rappaport put out. I was shocked. I was going to buy the Santa costume that I wore yesterday, and I had the video playing. Ian Rappaport put out there again. Hey, everything seems to be on track for Hutch, and this is a legit thing.
It's legit.
Yeah, Anzo's coming back.
Excited.
Demont.
You can't get me too excited here. All right, Ian. Is it happening or not? Let's cut the shit. Is he coming back?
I wish we could play the video. I wish we could. I'll send it to you after the show.
What video is it? Is he on TV or is it his own?
He was on TV. It was just like one of those other reports that everyone's doing, but it's just like he every week that they say it, it confirm like the thing is, it's like you're thinking like at some point in these rehabs. And remember Aaron Rodgers last year? There was like some setbacks where it's like, oh, he's coming back this week. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, he's next. The thing that's like with Hutch, I want to hear every single week a confirmation. Like it's as a fan, as someone on air, it is like a good thing to hear. Like he's still on track.
Right.
He's still on track. Hey, week 18, still on track. Still on track. As long as I'm hearing he's still on track every week, we're gonna bring it up, and I'm gonna tell you, Jeff, the man is still on track to return to the Super Bowl. There's no setbacks.
Yeah,
like right now, I bet you right now he is at wherever it is in Ann Arbor, Plymouth, wherever he does his workout stuff, and he is over there, and he is just going like he is working right now. He might be doing some squats, he might be doing some leg press. Like he is getting this thing back. That leg is getting. The thing I might be worried about is the muscle in the leg, but I think by the time the Super Bowl comes, that muscle is stout.
He'll have a steel leg. I mean, like a robot. Yeah. He'll have like a metal leg. He'll be like a part robot.
Who's that one guy, Inspector Gadget, who has like metal legs and arms?
Is it Inspector Gadget? I
don't know. I could be
Go Gadget. You know what?
I think it's Inspector Gadget.
Someone in the chat can correct you if you're wrong. I don't know. But you know what? If he does come back, great. That would be amazing. It's just as of right now, I got to see the playmakers return. I got to see. You're not going to get.
It's fair.
I got to see some playmakers back.
Yeah.
To see this defense, because
I can't wait till your pulse gets going a little bit more when you're like, yep.
It's like it's. You could say a coma. You know, maybe it's a coma. Maybe
You're waiting to wake up.
Yeah,
like as soon as the Vikings game over, it's just Jeff just
yeah. Like,
he's up.
I'm back. Yeah, Derek, go Gadget. Yes, Inspector Gadget.
Call us a potato.
You potato.
I've never heard that. One of my favorite things all time is when we were with Easy and all of them. We used to go at each other, just call each other different food names.
Yeah, calling each other like a pineapple or something.
Yeah, you corn dog.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we'll go with that. I want to say I'd be remiss. I want to get into the offense. I want to bring up a player that I think deserves a game ball because he didn't get one, and he won't get one, and he won't get the recognition.
I know who you're going to say. I love this too.
He stepped in with the best offensive line in the league for a guy in Graham who's a very good guard and played excellent. And that is Christian Mahogany. I think Christian Mahogany, who they drafted, he's a rookie, and he missed most of the beginning of the year, and he missed training camp. Remember, we went to a ton of training camp, and all you heard on updates was, not available, can't participate, just different stuff he was dealing with. I don't know his business or anything like that, but I knew he wasn't available. And he comes out there, Boone, not only jumps other guys that have been here that have played snaps as starters at guard, but he comes in and plays. I mean, the thing you want to see from Mahogany yesterday is you see him in space. They had him in space. It looked like he wasn't a guy that you consistently pointed out going, that guy messed up. That guy messed up. You didn't have to say his name at all. And then when you did, it was positive. So Christian Mahogany, excellent game yesterday against a very good defensive line. And also an excellent game stepping in and doing what he has been practicing and training to do. But also credit to Brad Holmes, man. He might be the future at guard for you. You might have just found your future guard.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more important things too that you need to figure out. We were talking about that yesterday. It's like figuring out the next generation of Detroit Lions offensive line, because guys, as much as people hate to see it, and I remember I talked about it last year on the show I was on last year, and when I brought it up, people were like, "This guy, like, what are you talking about? We love the guys we have." It's like we're not moving on like this year, next year, but it's like future. Like this Lions team is built off the trenches offensively.
Yep.
Like it's the trenches. And when you have a guy like Taylor Decker, who's a little older, Graham Glasgow, who's only on a 2 or 3 year deal, who's a little older, Kevin Zeitler, 1 year deal, who was older, he could retire at any point. He's had a great career. And if he wins a Super Bowl, Kevin Zeitler might even say, "Hey, great career for me. I know I'm an all-pro guard right now, but hey, there it is. Like that. What a year for me, and what a career." The only one, Frank as well, like Frank Ragnow, he's getting to that point. He has injuries, so like the only one that's probably long term, for a long time you have is Penei Sewell. So it's like you have to start looking at replacements, at guys to learn from these guys, and like, hey, I can step in. And Mahogany, Jeff, like he was unbelievable yesterday. And I want to go back too. Once we're done with the show today, I do want to go back and rewatch the game and kind of just watch Mahogany offensively a little bit to see how good he actually was. But there were just so many times. It's typically like when you're watching the game, you're watching the skill players. Obviously, you're looking at all of that. But when you notice an offensive lineman, like how Penei Sewell is out front on a screen play, or these guys are pulling and you see them lead blocking here for a run play. When you notice a guy like Christian Mahogany, you're like, dude, he's out there lead block. He's out there making plays. Like they're running right behind him. He's not allowing sacks. Like he is great in the pass rush. When you notice that and you see him, and we saw him multiple times. You can watch our stream back multiple times. You see Mahogany's out front with Penei Sewell blocking right now. He is out in the screen making a play. They score a touchdown. Who's one of the guys right there that just opened that hole up? Mahogany. And it was the same thing like when Craig in the second half. Craig, remember those runs that Craig had just wide up, right behind Mahogany, boom, opens up. So he's elite. Like in the fact that he missed all of training camp, he missed multiple weeks of the regular season, comes in practice, has to kind of work his way back off IR and all of that. And he is all of a sudden here out of nowhere, your number one backup. Like he is the guy. Hey, when you have an actual backup at guard, which I think is a big thing, because before, like, Yodi was good, but rolling with Yodi in the NFC Championship game, there are definitely some knocks that you can probably say, hey, yeah, that he's not at that level. Now Mahogany, if a guy goes down, you have him stepping up. And Colby, He passed Colby up. I was big on Colby. I thought, hey, just give the man some time. I'm Mahogany. Like, you got him in the 6th round. He was supposed to be when we did mock drafts, he was a 2nd, 3rd round guy. Like, we were taking him in the 2nd, 3rd round. Brad gets him in the 6th round. That's like unbelievable.
Yeah,
Brad Holmes just another stud in late in the draft.
He's a steal. I mean, he played yesterday 65 offensive snaps. Christian Mahogany, 65 offensive
100% of the snaps.
100%, yes. He had 32 run blocking plays, 33 pass blocking plays. In the 33 pass blocking plays, he allowed 0 hurries and 1 hit, 0 sacks. So 0 hurries, 0 sacks, 1 hit. It's 82.5 pass blocking grade on PFF. He played exceptional. And he played at left guard, and he played at right guard against the Packers for a couple snaps, and he looked solid. But yeah, those are great grades. Again, no sacks, 1 hit, no hurries. So for him as a rookie playing his first real game, I mean, he played a couple snaps, little cup of coffee against the Packers, but to play that amount of snaps against the Bears and be that exceptional, you with certain positions, you know right away. Some guys, you just know that they ain't it right away.
Yeah.
That dude, you know he's it. And the run blocking grade for Christian Mahogany was 70.4. So still solid.
Do you have the stats on it? Did he give up any sacks, or how many pressures did he give up? Do you have that or no?
Yep, he gave up in terms of pressures. I think it was 1 pressure.
That's great. For how many, what, 30 something snaps?
Yep.
I think 32.
1 pressure, 1 hit. I remember we saw that play
where
he gave up the hit. But that was it. 1 pressure allowed. And
for your first NFL start as a 6th round rookie, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and 65 snaps, offensive snaps, 1 pressure.
How would you say the run grade was? I apologize.
It was 70.4.
I wonder what the NFL average is. I'd be interested to know.
And then 82.5 pass blocking.
It's great.
So
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, he played exceptional. So big shout out to him. And another player that
just real quick, I just want to throw this up. Coach Watt, Colby can still be a guy. I don't disagree with that. Like, I still think Colby can turn into someone.
Maybe not a starter level, but backup guy maybe.
But over the next 2, 3, 4 years, you have a guy who's backup. And if you need him to start, year 2, year 3, maybe he does turn into that. Because he did play at William & Mary, so he was like a small school guy. Maybe eventually he gets used to it and he gets everything fills out and he starts learning, boom, boom, boom. It turns into a starter. Maybe it just takes longer for some people. But Mahogany the man was playing in the ACC versus elite talent his whole career. I think it was a 3 or 4 year starter too. So
yeah, he played at Boston College. So played a good program. So Brad Holmes, you got another hit. That's what it looks like from Christian Mahogany. A player that seems to be a hit this year, and I think officially shut down all the criticism, all the doubters, local and national, of what Jameson Williams can be. The dude is balling this year. All right. So just to give you context, he's played in 13 games, 13, started in 9 of them. So he's been this year, the suspensions, it's been, the suspension for whatever happened earlier. He's missed some games. But on the year, 890 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's given you 68 yards a game. Like, that's from a number 2 wide receiver, which is all you can really ask for. I mean, I went around and looked, and I think a receiver that's probably comparable to him in his position is Jordan Addison, given he's the second receiver to Justin Jefferson. Jamo's the second receiver to Amon-Ra. They're both in kind of explosive passing offenses. One guy, they're kind of looked at similarly, but most would probably take Jordan Addison before the season. Most would be like, yeah, give me Jordan Addison. Jamo, 75 targets, 47 catches, 890 yards. So that's about a 62.7 catch percentage. Jordan Addison, 85 targets to Jamo's 75, 56 catches to Jamo's 47. So pretty close, right? 10 more targets for Jordan Addison.
Yep.
8 more catches or 9 more catches for Jordan Addison. So they're a little more targets, a little more volume. It's okay. 806 yards. So he has 4 less yards than J-Mo. So J-Mo with less targets, less catches is doing more. He's producing more. He's a big play guy, and he can change the game. But basically a one-play touchdown. J-Mo's been incredible in his hands. Like I said, a 62.7 catch percentage. Jordan Addison, 65.9. So he's just trailing Jordan Addison. And even other guys like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, just to give you an example, he's 69.7. That's where guys usually are, like good, great hands guys, like 70-ish%. He's 62.7, which Dan already admitted at one point. It's okay. He doesn't have Amon-Ra's hands, but guess what, Boone? His playmaking ability, that dude's putting up production with some damn good receivers. I mean, it's 890 yards, 890 with 75 targets. AJ Brown with the Eagles has 1,000. I mean, he's great. He's at like 110 behind AJ freaking Brown. I know you could. Well, is he the same player? No, but he's showing up this year, Boone, and he's producing. He's doing everything he's asked of, and he's still missed 2 games. I mean, this guy's balling.
It's. I mean, I'll say this. Like it is. It's. I think it's funny too because the 12th overall pick gets brought up into it a lot. And I do think guys get put in different positions. And you could argue, being the 12th overall pick, the first 2 years J-Mo had, that was where I think a lot of people are like, hey, you're a top 15 pick for us. We need production. And it was like, okay, you have to wait to like see what's the saying, Jeff? The labors of your fruit?
The fruits of your labor.
Fruits of your labor. There we go. I got that right. Or kind of. But I think that's what it is with J-Mo. And the fact, too, that you're able to now put him in this offense. And I think I said it yesterday on air, Jeff, if you put J-Mo on a lot of offenses in the NFL, maybe half of them, you could argue, hey, he's probably a wide receiver 1. Like the production that he's having and what he can do and the playmaking ability that he has. I had mentioned the targets too. Like if you just look at the targets from Jameson Williams, like his targets are half. Like you brought up AJ Brown, Jeff. Let me pull up AJ Brown's targets this year. Like you could look at that and be like, guys, he's getting half of the targets that some of these guys are getting. Where's AJ Brown? 1,000 yards, 92 targets, Jeff. Jameson Williams, basically 900 yards, 100 and something less yards, 75 targets. Like you're talking about 20, 30 more targets than some of these superstars. You get J-Mo, those averaging 14, 15 yards a touch. Like it's him. Like the fact that like, you have to put that in consideration. Like he has a guy with Amon-Ra who's going to get 130, 140, 150 targets on the year. And you have him in an offense there. It's like, okay, he's going to get limited targets based off of that. And look what he's doing with those. So I think J-Mo, like he has exceeded every expectation I think that he's been giving. Like we had the conversation before the season. Oh, J-Mo will get 1,000. He'll be able to do this. He's going to come close to this. And we got clowned. Like we got clowned a little bit. But when we say, hey, we think J-Mo can have a big year here. And we get clowned for that. And now you look at it now and you're like, hey, he has 2 games remaining. And it's not like just 2 games where it's like end of the season. It's no, like he's probably going to go out there and average 70, 80, probably 70 yards a game. You might see another 100-yard game. Like he's going to hit 1,000. He has a chance to legit hit 1,000. He only needs 55 yards a game to hit 1,000.
Yeah.
He's only going to play in 15 games. Like if he had 2 more games, he's at 1,100, 1,200 yards. 8-9 touchdowns. Like that's unlimited targets. And I think that's what people don't understand is you want to bring up the J-Mo thing. Listen, he's putting up numbers, limited targets. He's the number 2 wide receiver. And he is putting up numbers that a number 1 wide receiver on some teams put up, which is incredible. I just pulled this up here and I'll throw this out there. I just went and looked at the first round wide receivers picked the same year as him, 2022. You have Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks, right?
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, 15 games. Drake London, 15 games. Jameson Williams, 13 games. J-Mo, 890 yards. Garrett Wilson, this is with 2 more games. 987 yards. Less than 100 away. Drake London,
a lot more targets too.
A lot more targets. Jameson or Drake London, you're looking at a 90-yard, 80-yard difference, Jeff. You're looking at 978 yards this year from Drake London. And he is, and I think we can agree, 127 targets, Jeff. 127 to 75 targets.
Yeah.
That's 60, basically 60 more targets. Like that is Garrett Wilson. Guess how many targets Garrett Wilson has? 141. 141.
Yeah. He had
So
23 in a game before. Hit 23 targets in a game.
So you're looking at Jameson Williams, and this is to me, guys. This is to the people who say he's not putting up the 12th overall pick pride. He's not living up. Okay, the guys that were taken before him, they have 50 more targets than him. 50 more targets. Put that in perspective. 50 more targets, and he only has 100 less yards than him, or than both of them. Like that's incredible. That's like that puts it in perspective. And like even like he has the same amount of touchdowns as Garrett Wilson. Drake London has one more touchdown than him. He has 47 receptions. They have 83 and 90. 83 and 90.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, I think we're at the point now, and you guys can correct me if there's someone still in the chat that if there's still someone in the chat that wants to say he's not doing what the 12th overall pick should be doing, then you need to go look at Garrett Wilson and Drake London and those things and say, hey, those are wide receiver ones on their team. And I don't care about quarterback situation. You could say, oh, he has Aaron Rodgers playing, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, and they're down, but you have to. This is the thing you have to take into consideration. I think this is what the biggest point with JMO that works is guys. You look at his production, look at the offense he's in. They run the football, and before David went down, you were on pace for 2,000-yard backs. Like Garrett Wilson and with the Jets, Breece Hall can't run. They can't run the ball. So, like, he's throwing a ton. Like, he's targeting guys. They're down a lot. Lions have been in blowouts. Guys have been benched. Like, think of the opportunities JMO would have in a situation. He's doing it in a winning situation. But if he was in a losing situation where they're chucking the ball around, like, hey, screw the run. We're down. We're throwing it. JMO's in a situation where he's the number 2 in a run-first offense on a winning team that has a lead in a lot of games. Like, think all the stuff that's going up against him, man. And he's still balling. So, hey, kudos to him. Scratch Golf, shout out to you, man. Shout out,
man.
Garrett Wilson could be God himself. The Jets are awful. Yeah, but they're. I
honestly though, Jeff, I'm shocked. I pulled those numbers up and I didn't know what to expect. That's shocking to me. Like the JMO's number 2 wide receiver on a football team and almost has the same numbers as some of those guys. Like that's shocking. He this year, and I'll say it. Do you want me to say it? He's been the best wide receiver out of the 2022 draft class this season. I don't care if they have 100 more yards. He has missed 2 games. He has half of the target. This is it. I don't know about actually. I'll say just first round because I don't know second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Maybe there's a guy that's just out that I'm missing. But Chris Olave, who has only played 8 games, has been hurt all year. Yeah. Garrett Wilson played 2 more games than JMO. Again, I went over those stats already. 100 more yards with double the targets, double the catches. Jahan Dotson, 15 games. He was there. He 100 yards. Who cares? Drake London, 80 more yards than JMO in 2 more games. And then you have Treylon Burks. Those are the first round wide receivers. He has been the best wide receiver out of that first round draft class. He has been.
Mm-hmm.
That's like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If someone wants to argue that with me, go ahead. But like if we're talking about production wise, he is very, very.
Did he miss consistent. 3?
I think 2. He's played 13. We've played 16 games. Oh, maybe.
Or I think we're
no. We played 15. We played 15. Yeah, he's played in 13 games.
Okay.
Yeah. He's only missed 2.
It's crazy, man. I mean, his role, he's excelling in his role. He's not a number 1. Yeah. He doesn't get those opportunities. I mean, he's playing next to a guy who's top 2 in catches. Like,
he's very efficient too. Like, he's extremely efficient. Those big plays, like. And I would love to hear if someone still thinks that he is not. I would love to hear an argument on that side.
What about the argument with Jared Goff this year, the way he's playing? He's ball. I mean, not just outdoor stuff, like we talked about that earlier, but this dude might be a future MVP. I mean, if he keeps doing this type of stuff where he's putting up these numbers, the Lions are winning, they're on pace to win, 15 games? I mean, it's hard not to think. You had Brock Purdy in an MVP conversation last year, that Jared Goff won't be in more conversations moving forward, given how he's playing. And given where he's at in his career, he's at a point now where he's 30, he's in his prime. He's mentioned that multiple times. He's in an offense he loves, he can excel in. The Lions have built this offense around him so he thrives. Is it crazy to think, like, if this dude's putting up 30-plus TD seasons, 10 picks, 4 4,500, close to 5,000 yards, that he won't be considered an MVP candidate pretty consistently? Like,
I think you would have to. I mean, any other team, if he's not, I'll say this: if he is not the next couple of years, with the way they're going to be winning the next few years, and the numbers that he consistently puts up, at that point, it's just like, hey, there's just a bias against Jared Goff. You know, like when you look at it like that, because like he's putting numbers up that when guys typically put these numbers up, and they're winning football games, and they're the number one team in the NFL, they're always in that conversation. And like, especially we talked about it yesterday, when you talk about Jared Goff MVP, like a game like yesterday, that was an MVP performance going on the road. You're playing a bad football team and you're just solid. And he had the 18 for 18 game. He's had games where he's thrown for 4 or 5 touchdowns. I know that, like, think about where he might be in the MVP conversation, Jeff, if he didn't have that 5 touchdown game, that one game. Like, take 4 of those away. He's sitting there and you're like, this, you have to consider him. Or if somehow, some way that last week they beat the Buffalo Bills, it's like you have to consider him. And you would think over the next couple of years with the defense, like as they get a better defense, as like the guys stay healthy, like next season's like a perfect year for him to go win MVP. To go put the numbers up, be very solid, and you're probably going to win 15 games again, 14 games. I'm interested. I'm going to see too, like his last couple seasons, Jeff. Like right now, over 4,000 yards, but that's with 2 games remaining. He probably will have more passing yards than last year. He's already at 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. This is the best season of his career. His passer rating's at 112. He's never done that in his career before. He's thrown, his completion percentage, Jeff, 71.4%. The next highest he's ever had is 67%. So
Right.
he's like clearing that by a mile.
And we've seen outliers in NFL. I mean, even since 2000, we've seen guys win MVP once. Like typically it's the Lamars or the Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. There's the Matt Ryan, there's a Matt Ryan, or there's the Peyton Mannings. You have Adrian Peterson win it. I think he's the only running back in the actually besides LaDainian Tomlinson, and then Sean Alexander won it. But not too many running backs have won it in the last 2 decades. Marshall Falk as well. But you have Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner got an MVP as well. So there's an opportunity, I think, for Jared to win, at least be in the race multiple times, but to steal one year, maybe a guy gets hurt, down year for a certain quarterback. Like that's how the NFL is. It's up, down. I don't deny. I truly believe there will be a year where Jared has the type of season he's having now. Lions are great, and everything kind of aligns for him. Like I think if he wins an MVP, man, I'll just say this: Lions win a Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer.
Easily locked in. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Because he'll have an MVP, which Matthew Stafford doesn't have an MVP.
Honestly, just even if he,
and I would say Matthew
wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be a case too. He would have a case. I think he would cement it with both, but you'd have a case if you just win a Super Bowl. Matthew did it because that was the big thing with Matthew. Like Matthew has all the stats, and Jared, you check his production. He's had about 4,500 yards in every year he's been in the league.
Yeah.
So he's gonna, when his career's done, dude, he's gonna have a shit ton of passing yards. I mean, he's gonna be up there passing touchdowns, like everything. He just has to sprinkle on an MVP or a Super Bowl, and I think, man, he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
So
he's trending that way.
Even this year, MVP wise, like, and this is the tough part, is he probably, and I had given my prediction in the offseason, said Jared will be a finalist for MVP this year. The problem is he probably won't end up being. I would vote him. Like if I was a voter, I would give him my vote to be MVP this year, or just to be a finalist, top 3. But you have obviously the Saquon, you have Lamar, the way he's playing right now. Jeff, Jared Goff. Someone in the chat asked, where does he rank completion percentage wise in the NFL? I'll go one further. All right, completion percentage. He is second in the NFL behind Tua at 71.4. The other MVP candidates, Lamar he's 9th in the NFL at 67.9%. And Josh Allen is 22nd in the NFL at 63%. So he is second in completion percentage, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
You go over to yards. Jared Goff, number 2 in the NFL, total yards. Not total, passing yards. 4,095, only behind Joe Burrow, who is at 4,200 yards. The other MVP candidates, 300 yards behind Lamar Jackson at 3,700 yards, he is 5th in the NFL. Josh Allen, 9th in the NFL at 3,500 yards. So he is 500 more yards behind Jared Goff when it comes to that. And then let's just keep this thing rolling. Let's keep this thing rolling. Touchdowns, passing touchdowns. Jared Goff, he is 2nd in completion percentage, 2nd in yards. He is 4th. So he is top 5. He is 4th in the NFL with 33 passing touchdowns. MVP candidates, Lamar Jackson is 2nd at 37. So he's 4 behind. Josh Allen, 7 touchdowns behind at 26. So he is a little behind. Obviously, rushing, you take the rushing into account. And then you look at passer rating. Jared Goff, 2nd in the NFL with 112. So, like, he is 2nd in completion percentage, 2nd in passer rating, 2nd in yards, 4th in touchdown passes. Like, and then he has 14 or 13 wins, potentially could get to 15 wins. The consideration needs to be there. I know he lost head-to-head versus Josh Allen, and I know the thing that really kills a guy like Jared Goff is the rushing game. Like, you have Josh Allen and Lamar who are putting up 600-700 yards rushing, and then the touchdowns that they have, like that kills. That almost makes it impossible for quarterbacks like Jared Goff, to be able to go. Like, Patrick Mahomes isn't that mobile to where he's running for 600-700 yards. But the plays he makes, you're like, oh, extending the plays, doing this, that gets considered too. And for Jared Goff, it's like he's done that this year. I think he wins an MVP at some point, because if you just look at the trajectory of his career right now, he is at his peak, in his prime, getting better.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best year statistically of his career, and it's only going to go up from here. Like, next year's only going to be better, and the next year's only going to be better. And it's like, at some point, you're going to have to be like, the committee or whoever votes on it's going to be, this guy's winning 15 games a year, and he's throwing for 40 touchdown passes. Like,
yeah, I mean,
put this year's numbers next to Matt Ryan's numbers.
Yeah, it'll be close by the end of the year. It'll be close. Tom says, I'm the biggest golf gobbler, but there's no way he's a Hall of Famer if he wins an MVP and Super Bowl. 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls. Now we're talking.
He's a Hall. If he win, even if he doesn't win an MVP and he wins a Super Bowl in Detroit, I promise you he will be a Hall of Famer. There are guys, he will be a Hall of Famer.
I mean,
if he brings a Super Bowl to Detroit, there is no doubt he is a Hall of Famer.
Do we believe
he is a Hall of Famer? Matt Ryan probably gets in the Hall of Fame at some point of his career. And Jared Goff, if he wins a Super Bowl, he's there.
Kurt Warner, I mean, he won one Super Bowl, but I guess he got 2 MVPs.
Jared Goff, if he wins a Super Bowl,
but still, that'd probably be the closest. Like, Kurt Warner got in.
Yeah, dude, if you win a Super Bowl in the city of Detroit, like that you get into consideration on that. You will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he'll have a case.
He'll have all Pro awards. He'll have Pro Bowls.
I think it's even more locked in if he does both, but we'll see.
That's crazy. And Tom, shout out to Tom.
I want to show some of the snaps on defense because we got to see some performances from players, and I have some kind of statistics regarding some of those players, how well they played. But here's the snap count officially. Justin Rogers put it out. Shout out to him. But you see Mahogany at the top of the screen there. Let me full screen this so you guys can see it. I'll turn off this. Essentially, you see some of the snap counts on offense. And then when you go over, look at Tom Kennedy, played 6% of the snaps along with Allen Robinson. But really, it's defense, which I do care about because you're going to see some defensive players that subbed in here. Brian Branch, 100% of the snaps. Jack Campbell, 100% of the snaps. All the starters that are typically out there. Levi Onwuzurike and Za'Darius, I think they played way more snaps than they did the prior week. But you see Ezekiel Turner, 36%. Muhammad, 31%. Played 20 snaps. Agude, 14. They had who is C. Smith? Chris Smith? I think it's Chris Smith, the defensive tackle, I'm pretty sure. Played 12 snaps. Anthony Pittman played some snaps. And Miles Adams played some snaps. But you don't see on here.
Who's that?
Some of the new additions that we were talking about. We're kind of breaking down the last couple weeks. I don't see a David Long. I don't see a Quan. He was ruled out. But I don't see a Jamal Adams. These guys
didn't even get pulled up. That's where I think that gets interesting, those guys.
So, and they did not. I mean, he didn't get pulled up. So they rocked with who they had on the team. And I will say the one that does surprise me a little bit is Ife Melifonwu's first game back. He played 80% of the snaps.
Yeah.
80% of the snaps he played. So, I mean, the guy, I'm trying to look too. Vildor, what did Vildor play? Vildor's not even on here.
Yeah, I don't think Vildor played yesterday. I could be wrong. I mentioned it, and I mentioned it in the post game. I said, we actually talked about that. We were like, we need to wait for the snap count to come out. But I had mentioned with Vildor, I don't know if you're pointing at me or you're just pointing at the people.
Keep going.
But I know I mentioned, I said, we didn't hear his name yesterday. That's a good thing, I feel like. I guess it is a good thing because he didn't play, but it was just like, that's a good thing if you didn't hear his name and he was out there, because that means he didn't give anything up. He just didn't play. They just
Rightfully
didn't play.
so.
Yeah.
It worked. Well, whoever they had out there, although they gave up yards, but
listen, I think what they did, I think they had Iffy out there. Can you pull the snap? I'm sorry, one more time.
Yep.
I just want to see. So they kept Kirby out there at safety basically the whole time. Amik, I think what happened, Amik, you see, he only missed one snap. I think they moved Amik to outside yesterday. Terrion obviously was out there. The Iffy thing, like you look at Iffy.
They had him playing a little nickel. I thought he was playing a little nickel a little bit, a couple points of the game.
I think what they did was moved Branch to nickel when Iffy was in. That's my guess. We have to watch the film.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But then again, I'm interested to know those, what would it be, 13 snaps that Iffy wasn't in, who they had out there, because I don't see anyone else, unless they just, those are the plays where they threw out an extra linebacker or an extra edge. That's my guess. Maybe those were like those packages.
Yeah, I mean, they gave up yards, but hey, this is all you got. I mean, this is your best guys, man. You don't have a choice. Like, this is who you don't have Carlton anymore, so you got to rock with who you got. And yeah,
you had 5 DB. You had 5 DBs play yesterday. That's it. You had 5.
And I will say, you know who graded the best in coverage this past week?
Who's that?
Jack Campbell. 77.9.
That's very good. That's
week in coverage. Iffy Melifonwu was second, 67. That was his grade in coverage. Agude was up there. Meek Robertson. You know who was near the bottom? You had the bottom 3 guys in coverage this past week.
I don't know if I want to hear that.
Or PFF. Number
Terrion.
1, Trevor Nowaski, 29.7.
Tough
Ezekiel Turner was second worst, 38.5. And then Terrion Arnold was third worst, 49.7.
Don't like that.
So Terrion Arnold didn't have according to the data, was not good out there. I mean, he allowed, let's see. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was just the yards, 4 targets, 4 receptions, or excuse me, 8 targets, 4 receptions. So it's like not bad. 82 yards though, given up. So it was the big plays on him. That kind of, it wasn't the amount of catches. It was when he allowed catches. They were big plays. I mean, 8 targets, 4 catches. It's 50%. It's like, it's not bad, but 82 yards on 4 catches. You're getting up there in some big plays.
Giving up some big plays. That's the problem, I think, defensively, is what we're getting back to from last year. Do you remember like that stretch of football, wide receiver ones versus the Lions, where it was like 150 yards, 140, 160, 120. It was just constant 100-yard games. Like yesterday, what did let me pull that up real quick. Keenan Allen, 9 catches, 141.
He balled. Yeah.
9 catches, you couldn't stop him. And it was like last year, you had that 7-8 stretch game of football where your defense was actually really good, but your secondary, or you were giving up so many yards to the wide receiver 1 and 2. And like, that's where it's like, I feel like a little deja vu, like we're getting back.
It is.
That.
It's deja vu.
And it's because like Carlton's out. Now Terrion's that guy that's going to be there until he kind of, takes that next step. And you have Amik out there. What was Amik's grade, by the way? Do you have that? What was his?
Yeah, Amik was
targets and everything and giving up.
So let's.
And Ryan Anton did say, like, Terrion did have a really big pass breakup.
He did
in the end zone. Like, he did make plays. I think it's just more so consistency. Like, to get to that next level, to be like that big time corner in the NFL, you need to make those plays all the time.
Coverage grade for Amik Robertson: 3 targets, 2 catches for 41 yards. So
Shawnee Mack in the chat just put Keenan was working Amik, and then we pull out Amik only got targeted 3 times.
He worked Terrion. He was working everyone, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really matter. He got worked. multiple. I mean, Brian Branch, 10 targets, 7 catches for 70 yards. Like Brian didn't have a typical Brian game.
I looked at someone yesterday during the stream, and there was multiple times Brian Branch got beat on like a little slant, this quick route, and then gave up yards.
You could tell he's banged up. You could tell.
Yeah, and I was like, why? And I think it might have been you, Jeff. I just kept looking at that was Brian Branch again. Like Brian Branch, like he gave 7 for 10 on Brian Branch. That's crazy. That's not a typical Brian Branch.
No.
You'll never see that out of him.
You can tell he's banged up. You could tell.
Yeah.
He's coming off something with his calf, or what was it? His hamstring calf. Which one was it?
Calf. I think
he's dealing with something. He didn't. Yeah. Brian is usually he's like one of your best cover guys. Period. And
that's tough. That's not good.
No.
Luckily, you played the Bears yesterday, because if that was,
like that's something you look at and you're like, Brian's going to get better every week. I'm not worried. I just like Iffy's debut, man. I thought Iffy came out there and just looked like he never left. He just looked like Iffy, I guess, and that's a great thing, because there's no, be patient with Iffy, allow him to get back to form. Dude walked out there, got a sack, was great in coverage. Like, well, could he be better? Absolutely. But yeah, Iffy, man. We talked about it. Who are you most excited to see? We all mutually agreed it's that dude. That dude can make a difference. He can make game-changing plays. And to see him make his debut, again, it was against the Bears, but he looked comfortable. He looked like he's ready to go. I mean, to play that many snaps as your debut, that means the coaching staff and they know they're on the same page.
He was just activated too, like a week ago. So like he was ready to go, and like within a week, they're like, because there was questions. We brought it up Friday, Thursday. We were like, we don't think Amik and Emmanuel Mosley will play. Like we were like, those two guys probably aren't going, and it was really like iffy. We were like, dude, he's just freshly off. He hasn't even played a snap in a game yet. We were questioning, like, is he going to get even snaps, or are they just going to sit him? We thought maybe potentially he was going to be inactive on that list, just based off of the timing of everything. Like, hey, he needs another week to kind of get into things. Dude, he came in and you played 5 DBs. He was one of those 5, and he played 80% of the snap. He only didn't play in 13 defensive snaps. Like, that's big time. And the thing too with that, like, he played very well. He even mentioned too, I think in a post game, I had saw that he did a post game where someone had talked to him in the locker room. He was like, listen, I'm just getting the rust off. Like, you have to think, I haven't played for 16 weeks. Or 15 weeks. Like, I haven't played since last year, essentially, in the NFC Championship game. That was the last time Iffy Melifonwu played football, and he's been on the IR all season. So, like, for him to be like, hey, I'm still kind of getting used to things here, getting the rust off. I haven't played football a lot in the last year, and to him to go out there and do what he did, that's where you look at it and you're like, okay, like, can he do what he did last year in that stretch of football? Because if he can, this defense, that is a massive piece. That is like an insane piece to have. That's like oh no, we thought we were done defensively. Oh no, welcome to the tape, Iffy Melifonwu.
It feels like another trade happened. Like you get like some random help, just drop him in the middle of the season. It's like
like an elite player too. Like remember last year, we were like, if he did that for a whole season, that's one of the greatest seasons of all time. If he gives if he gives you half of that from last year, you're like,
safeties in the league. Based off what he did last year in the short sample size, like this is just like on pro level what he's doing, and in the short sample size. I see Coach Walk, when's Rakestraw coming off IR?
That's interesting.
I mean, that's a good question. I think you agree with me. I'm excited for him to come off IR. It's great depth. I don't know how much he would be out there right off the rip. I don't. Just given that when he does come off IR, you're probably going to be in the waters of the Minnesota game. Like, you're going to be close to a huge game. And then you get right into the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know if when Rakestraw comes off of IR, how much he'll be involved right away.
I think eventually you're going to get to a point to where it's like you're going to need him to. Because, I don't know. I mean, I guess before he was even on the IR, they trusted Kendall Vildor over him because that he was getting the snaps over Rakestraw. Rakestraw was just getting special teams. There were a couple games where I think he did get defensive snaps. I don't know. If I'm just being honest, I'm not gonna rely and like take a step back and be like, hey, we got Rakestraw coming back. Like, I think like special teams wise, I would be interested to see though if he does come back healthy, what's going on. The Mosley thing, Emmanuel Mosley, Dylan Simmons just put, I wonder if Emmanuel Mosley will play against the Niners. Mosley did play. I think he played in all of the special team snaps. I think Justin Rogers, that tweet that we had put up, I think he had mentioned in the tweet, he did say, and I'm pulling up, he said players who only saw special teams work. Vildor. So Vildor did play. He played on special teams. Emmanuel Mosley as well. So there was a couple other guys, but those were the two guys. Those guys only played special teams yesterday.
That's good.
But like that's the thing. It's like, what's going on with Mosley? You're probably not bringing him back after the year, right? Like, that's probably it for him in Detroit.
Now,
if that's the case.
We can talk about the secondary, which, like, again, they gave up yards. They did that. They're going. It's clear as day. You're trying to go back to last year's philosophy. I don't know. I'm still the pulse thing. We're on different sides of the pulses. But what I will say, and I'm curious what you think of the pass rush yesterday, because you have Caleb Williams, who's the most sacked quarterback in the league. You're facing a defensive line, which is without Aleem, without Hutch, looking to gain some confidence. They still have DJ Reader, who got a sack and a half, whatever it was, 2 sacks against the Bears when they played last time. You still have Zadarius Smith, who had a sack and a half in that game. You still have Josh Pascal, who I don't think played in that game, if I'm not mistaken. He played in this one. And then you have Pat O'Connor playing some snaps. What'd you make of the pass rush on Sunday? Where's your meter at? Not with Super Bowl, but with like confidence, it's a good pass rush. Where have you swayed? With like confident, not confident?
You're trying to get me with that one. I see. Okay.
Hey, we're doing a lot of meters today.
I'm going to say my meter with the pass rush is just, it is stayed the same. I knew what, I feel like we all knew what the pass rush was and was going to be after all these, like after Aleem went down. Now, I will say this. The second half yesterday, the first half, there was a lot of times Caleb Williams, and you kept bringing it up, Jeff. You just kept saying yesterday, this is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. They can't sack him. They can't get to him. Caleb was moving yesterday. He was there was it wasn't good pressure because he was getting whatever he wanted, 2 points, but he was running. They were trying to get to him. They were collapsing the pocket, but they just were not getting it done. I'll say this, Jeff, in the fourth quarter, I think is when you started to see, okay, maybe this is what this pass rush can look like. Like the Mohammed, Zadarius Smith, Levi O, Josh Pass, they started to get a little bit going a little bit. I will say there is a concern level, though, to a point with this pass rush, because like Zadarius Smith, he didn't really show it. You didn't really hear his name called until the end of the game. And this has been a conversation, even in that Bills game, Zadarius Smith was nowhere to be found. Nowhere. And he's supposed to be your Hutch. Like, you're supposed to be getting, like, obviously you're not going to get what you get out of Hutch. That's where you're supposed to be finding that gap there, though, is with Zadarius Smith. Didn't see much out of him until the fourth quarter yesterday. Same thing in the Bills game. Didn't see him. The guy that I saw yesterday that really just stood out to me, like Levi O.
Levi
O had a great game.
He had a great game.
And I think that's a positive where Levi O was struggling for a little while. And it's like, oh, we finally get to see Levi O step up. And if we get that Levi O from now into the Super Bowl, big time. Josh Pascal. If we get the great Josh Pascal from now into the Super Bowl, big time. Al-Quadin Mohammed. If we get what he did and what he's doing, like, you don't need him to be the star guy. That's what you have these other guys for. If he just comes in and contributes, big time. I think the bottom line of this whole thing is Zadarius Smith, you need something out of him. You're getting nothing. I had gone on that rant, Jeff, last week, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the Bills game and said, hey, that stretch of football that he played was better than the stretch of football he was playing in Cleveland. He has been playing extremely well. You need him to get back to that. You need him to get back to that, because if he does that, and the Josh Pascal, Levi O, Mohammed, if those guys are playing at the level that they can play at, and we know they can play at, Pat O'Connor, like DJ Reader, then you have you don't have the best pass rush in the NFL. You have an average pass rush. You have a good pass rush, and you can win a Super Bowl with that. But you can't have your number one guy not producing. I'm interested. I know you have PFF grades. I don't know if you have those ones. I'm interested to see the pressures and everything with Zadarius Smith, because I felt like he was, until the fourth quarter, I just did not see him. And when you're going up against the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, that's like, you have to see that. And like, there is I don't say it a lot, but there's a level of concern here for me. That's the weakness on your football team right now, as this pass rush. And that puts you in a bad spot with your secondary. And you have dudes in your secondary. That pass rush, you need something out of them.
So the pass rush grade, I have that here. So pass rush, Brian Branch actually graded the best because he had a hurry and a hit. But he had the best grade. But Zadarius Smith was second with 63.1.
That's not even that good.
No, there wasn't
63.1? Second best?
And by the way, Brian Branch only rushed the passer, I believe, 6 times. So it wasn't like big sample. Like Zadarius Smith was 31 times. You know, like that's the difference you're kind of looking at there. So no one really rushed the passer excellent yesterday. When you talk about hurries, Zadarius Smith had the most hurries, 5.
I guess 5's not bad.
Pat O'Connor had 4. Josh Pascal had 3. Levi had 3. And then it's really like your linebackers at that point. Trevor had 1. Ben Neiman had 1. But yeah, it wasn't. I can't even look at this and be like, Zadarius had a great game. I mean, he was fine. He was good.
I guess five pressures isn't like terrible, but geez, man, like, did they show? Well, I guess we had to go. Just felt like he was just. I don't know. Maybe that's just on me. I don't know. Maybe my expectations too high for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the reality of it. Okay, that's the reality of having Zadarius. He's a good player, but people forget who he's played with throughout his career. He's always played with great players, and he's been a very great player. But it's not like Zadarius like check who he had in Cleveland, right? When he was with the Packers, who he had. The Vikings, I think he had Danielle Hunter. So he's always had someone with him to kind of unlock him, which is normal. Like I think there's plenty of pass rushers where it's like, hey, when you play alongside a really good pass rusher, your game turns to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
I think it's unfair to expect Zadarius to be like elite by himself. Like I think that's just the reality. Now next year when Zadarius is with Hutch, I think you'll get that consistent 1-2 punch. But it's hard right now when you don't have Aleem, you don't have a Hutch. And you're like, all right, Zadarius, go wreck games. It's at his age too. He's not playing a ton of snaps. You know what I'm saying? Because he's 33 years old. He's only going to play. What did I say he played earlier? Like 40 or 60% of the snaps or something like that. That's about what he's going to give you. 60. He's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not a.
And two,
Hutch will be playing he'd play 100. He'd play every damn snap out there.
He was too. He was getting every snap in.
And even Aleem will play a ton. Aleem plays a ton.
Like Zadarius is good. And like I wouldn't say he was great. Or he was a great get. I just wouldn't say like what he's done in the Bills game and this game. Like that stretch of football when we first got him, that if we got that consistently, and again, Jeff, like he's not going to be Hutch. He's going to be so far from it. Like there is a handful of guys in the NFL that could do that. But my problem is we saw through that stretch of football, the first 3 or 4 games in Detroit, what he could do. That hasn't been the last 2 weeks. At least maybe the pressure wise, you could say the numbers maybe are close to it. You're not getting that impact of a feeling on big plays like third downs. These plays, he did do it yesterday in the fourth quarter. You saw it when Muhammad had that sack. He stepped up and had a big pressure, and he helped out with that. And the same thing with he's opening up a lot, but I just think it needs to be more consistent over 4 quarters. Because Caleb Williams, like he again, we got to the fourth quarter and he's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. You had not sacked him once. You didn't sack him once until the Muhammad sack or the Iffy sack. Now you ended with 2 sacks. You should have had 4 or 5 yesterday versus him. And that's just like I think a fact. And I think that's where it's like if we are, and I'm gonna tell people this, it's okay to criticize a little. I do.
I mean, yeah, of course.
I usually don't. It's okay to do it. If there's something to criticize on this team, if you find a pass rush, it helps your whole defense out. It helps the linebackers out. It helps Brian Branch and Iffy and Kirby out. You know who it helps out? Your rookie corner 1 right now. You have a corner 1 who had 80 yards go against him yesterday. It helps him out. It helps everyone out. So I think that's the key to everything. Win in the trenches, man. That's how this game's built. That's what it's. You saw it offensively. We built our offense off that, and teams can't stop us. So think about if you actually had a pass rush.
Yeah, that's the thing that, I mean, I checked today. I went back and looked at like throughout the season when they had Hutch versus without Hutch, just looking at like pass rush grades, and like it obviously dropped off. Like it obviously there's a drop off. They've been trying to kind of supplement it, but it's just tough. How do you replace a player like that? but it's really got, I mean, look at the last 2 weeks, 61.7 pass rush grade, or excuse me, sorry, 53.4 against the Bears. So 53.4 not good, 50.8 against the Bills, 62.3, or excuse me, 65.3 against the Packers. Like they've been it's been going down a little bit since the Colts game. Colts, they had actually a pretty good game. I know that was with a lean, but still they had a pretty good game getting after Anthony Richardson. And then after that, like Bears, they got a little worse. Packers, they stayed there. Buffalo, they got really bad. And then the Chicago, they kind of peaked a little bit higher. They just got to, it's just like, the thing I'm worried about is when you do face better and better quarterback competition. Because I will say in the NFC, AFC is the more stacked conference with teams, but the NFC, I believe, is deeper. Like, I think the NFC's deep. Like, you could run into, like, if you don't get the number 1 seed, you could run into like a Buccaneers team, you know, like who's actually not bad. Like, they're pretty good. I know you could beat them, but Baker's playing really well. Like, you're going to play quarterbacks, dude. You got to get after, you know, you got to get after these guys. So it's going to be key come postseason.
Hey, defensively, Jeff, one of your questions were answered. They got back to it in the run game. I know they didn't run it a lot.
They did. Yeah, they did.
But I think the reason behind that was like Swift, he had 9 carries. 9 carries for 20 yards, 2.2 yards per carry. They could not, like, I think they went away from it quick because they realized instantly, they were like, hey, we're not getting anything. We're not running the ball here.
It was their best rushing, like, game, I guess, whatever, like
probably the season.
Since I would say like the Texans game.
I mean, dude,
like they shut Mixon down. That's kind of what they did to this whole rush. They just didn't allow anything.
It felt like of the season because, I mean, the only person who did anything, I mean, Caleb Williams had 34 yards. I think he had like 2 long. He had a 13-yard carry, and I think he had a letter. And outside of that, like they literally got not every time they touched they got a carry. I mean, DeAndre Swift had one that maybe went over 5 yards. Maybe. That was it. Like they were so, and instantly, I think the first half, they were like, and I know they were down, so they had to throw. If they would have ran the ball 20 times, they would have carried the ball for 2 yards of carry. Like there was nothing. And I think that's like Jeff, that's a positive where it's like, is it a problem or is it something they can get back to? I think that's something underlying. I think it's just like, we had the conversation last week. James Cook was the first 100-yard rusher they gave up all year. That felt like an outlier. It did. It felt like an outlier. And I was like, I hope next week, DeAndre Swift, I know it's DeAndre Swift. He's had some good games this year. I actually want to look at his game log. Like I see he hasn't had under 100 run. He had 129 versus the Commanders. But I felt like that was like a positive to take away. That was a positive takeaway. The Rams, I think he rushed for like now almost 100 on the Rams. So that was good. This next week, I mean, they don't really have running backs, but then when you get to week 18, Aaron Jones, like if you can stop him, you probably win the game. Like if you hold him under 60, you probably win that game. If you don't let them run the ball, they can pass whatever they want. That's the one thing last year we saw with this defense where it's, hey, you can pass the ball all you want. As long as you're not running the ball and we're forcing field goals, you can do whatever you want. You could throw for 500 yards. Don't care.
Now, what do you think? If I were to ask you, give me a stud and a dud from yesterday's game, where would you lean?
Can I give out? I have one dud. I have 2 studs. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We're doing this is offense and defense, both combined.
Yeah. So I have my offensive stud, and I don't think he's gotten credit a lot because of what J-Mo did, what Jared Goff did, Amon-Ra, Laporta, what all they did. We actually haven't brought him up much just today. Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh,
Sonic.
It's a great point. Yeah.
He's not really getting a lot of credit. He had 20. He almost had 30 touches yesterday. And like you don't typically see that out of him. With no D-Mont, it was like, all right, we knew what he was going to do. Dude, he had like 120. He didn't really do much in the second half because he didn't need to. He had like 120 yards in like just the first half.
Yep.
He had 150 total, 5.5 yards per touch, Jeff. That's incredible. Incredible.
That's
all this Christmas food's getting backed up on me already. Still got 2 days. But that's insane. 5.5 yards per carry or per touch is like, that's incredible. I think he deserves a lot of credit because yesterday they were leaning on him a ton, especially to kind of get that lead. You could tell instantly. It was like, let's just get the ball to Gibbs. Let's go. Even in times where it was like the pass game, maybe at times we're falling apart. Guess what? Little screen pass to Gibbs. Boom. He had like 40 or 50 receiving yards. He was incredible. And then defensively, I'll give credit where credit's due. We already talked about him, Jeff. Ife Melifonwu. 4 tackles yesterday, a sack, a tackle for a loss in there, a quarterback hit as well in there. He was dominant. He almost, on the first play of the game, he almost had a sack. You could tell, too, like how rusty he is a little bit, because last year, Ife Melifonwu was not missing that sack. First pass play of the game for the Chicago Bears, Ife Melifonwu blitzing, getting right to Caleb Williams and just missing him by like a half an inch. So I think Ife Melifonwu deserves a stud. And I think that's like a bit like well deserved too, because we gave the stats for Brian Branch, giving up 7 catches for, what was it, 70 something yards, 10 targeted 10 times, 7 for 10. The secondary only playing 5 guys essentially defensively, and Ife to come off IR hasn't played a snap all season. Maybe one. I don't know if he played, but like really has not played all season. 15 straight weeks IR, comes in, gets off the IR, same week goes in and does what he did. He deserves all the credit in the world, man. And then a dud I just went, I feel bad doing this defensively. Just went Terrion. And it's not because of like what he gave up 80 yards. Like, that's not good.
Yeah, he had good moments though, but that's about it.
I don't remember how many catches you said, but 80 yards off that many catches isn't great.
8 targets, 4 catches for like 80 yards.
That's not good. That's not good. And this is like, Terrion's a great player. He had the pass breakup in the end zone. He had a couple other pass. Like he played at times. You saw the spurts where like, ooh, Terrion could be good. I just think now you're corner one. It's time to like you need to see a lot more. You can't see your corner one giving up 80 yards in the NFL. That's just you're not winning football.
No, it's not good. No.
So like that's where, to me, it's like it's the fact. It's not really that Terrion had a bad game. I think it's more so my expectation for what he needs to do moving forward to what he did yesterday. That's it. So if Terrion, if you're listening to this, I think you had great moments yesterday. It's about you getting here, and right now you were here yesterday. But before, the start of the season, you were here. Like, he's moving up. But it's like we need you to get to that point quicker. Like, I expect Terrion to be a star corner in the NFL at one point in his career. It might have to happen a little earlier than we all expected. Like, you need him now. You need that guy now, like that Pro Bowler now.
To your point, I think he would even admit that. Like, I think he would even look at you and be like, yeah, I got to play better, which is fair. I want to say for my stud, I'm going to go with an obvious one, and it should be because I want to keep giving this guy praise. It's Christian Mahogany. He is my stud on offense.
Love it.
I got one on defense too. I want to give credit to Levi Onwuzurike, your guy, because Levi made plays yesterday. They played him a lot, and that was a game. If anyone could have taken confidence out of it, he built confidence from that game. So I'm going to go with Levi Onwuzurike on defense and Christian Mahogany on offense, because those two played really well. 2 young players. The dud, I'm going to go with the guy that I've been very high on, and kind of similar to you, I expect more out of consistently, because this is where we're at with the injuries. You're going to need to be consistent. Consistent. That's why when we talk about the guys that are playing now, my worry is, well, the guys that are supposed to be here are the guys you pay to be consistently great, which is Hutch, Aleem, and Carlton. That means like guys like a Josh Paschal, who I have as a dud, you got to be consistent. And not maybe Hutch's level, obviously, or Aleem's level, but you got to give me something. And yesterday, especially rushing the passer, he did not have a great game. Out of all the guys the Lions sent to rush the passer, 16 different guys, he was the worst graded one on the Lions. Worst graded because he had a ton of snaps, pass rushing snaps. He played a ton out there. He just didn't do much rushing the passer. It was kind of middle of the pack on the Lions in terms of the run defense. Like Amik was really good against the run yesterday. Jack was great. Levi was great, by the way, against the run. Even Al Muhammad chipped in a little bit in the run game. Josh, he didn't have a terrible game against the run, but Josh, I think what his potential is, I expect more out of him consistently. I think that was a game where Josh could have ended, and you're like, wow, Josh, really took another step. Just didn't do that yesterday. So I think moving forward, it will change. But to me right now, if I had to go with a dud, I would give it to Josh Paschal for yesterday. He's got to be better. I expect more out of him personally.
Yeah, I don't hate that. He did. Someone brought it up. He did get a fumble recovery.
He got the recovery,
Ryan-
which I will give him that. But besides that recovery, it was well, we got to be a little better.
Yeah.
Kevin T says stud Jack Campbell feel like he's holding everyone together. You're absolutely right, Kevin. It's a great
Jack's been
analysis.
so
Great
good.
analysis. Because
What's PFF grade for Jack? How did he look?
he didn't miss a tackle yesterday, I don't think.
He's
Which
been
crazy.
so good.
He didn't miss a tackle yesterday. In run defense, he was top 3. And then in pass coverage, he was like, it was kind of near the top, not quite at the top. But yeah, I don't think he missed a tackle yesterday. Yeah. I could be wrong, but the dude was like,
he's been good, dude. He should be.
He was
I think he's a top 10 linebacker in the NFL, and you could say you could throw him in the Pro Bowl if you want this year for what he's been doing. And that's like half of the season with Anzo. So like when you look at his stats, like if you just like look at like obviously tackles in the NFL, I'm gonna pull it up real quick here. Sorry, my thing's messing up.
Yeah, I would love to see where he's.
But like you have to consider like he started at, when did Anzo go down? 4 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. So like he just took over. He is 22nd in the NFL in tackles with 116. Obviously the lead Zaire Franklin has 151, but again, like you do have to take into account that Alex Anzalone, I don't know how many he has total on the year, Anzo, but he up to a certain point, Anzo was like getting a lot of those tackles like the first half of the season.
Yeah, he's like a 100 tackle guy, Anzo. Like
yeah. So if you have Jack Campbell and he's playing the position he is right now, like next year he's probably going to be the lead guy in my opinion. That he's your best linebacker. Like this year, do you remember the first couple of games? They were like, we're sending Anzo up to get all these tackles. Jack's doing this, Jack's doing that, but Anzo's the one that's getting set up to make the tackles, and that's like their game plan. I think next year you move that kind of game plan to Jack Campbell. And you're saying Jack Campbell gets 150 next year. My prediction this year, I think I had him getting 140, and he's 24 away. He could easily get that.
He'll get 8 over the next 2 games.
He could get double digit the next 2 games for San Fran, and then versus the Vikings, you could see him get 20 more and sitting there at 135 plus the year. So, and that's half of the season, not even being like that, the number 1 linebacker, and you have Anzo there.
What about this? ETN, ball don't lie. Dud, Dan Campbell's teeth.
I'm with Dan Campbell. My teeth aren't great either, so I'm with Dan. I've got.
Hey, the last thing that man's concerned about is his teeth.
His teeth, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't care.
Like Justin said, he's a real man. I don't think he gives a fuck if his teeth are white right now.
Man, who cares, dude? I don't care. Hey, what do I say all the time?
Got a great wife, great kids, rich, coaches the Lions, he's a great coach. His dogs.
Let Dan Campbell be Dan Campbell, That's how I look at it.
Yeah, he's living life.
You don't want to change anything about that man.
No. See him with like veneers. You'd be like, what the hell?
Who cares?
Yeah, leave it. Hey, if he wants to take care of his teeth, take care of it. If he doesn't, hey.
Tor said it's about him having look at the shade of mahogany. Yeah, he does the dip doesn't help the man. The dip does not help.
But keeps him locked in.
Yeah, let him do whatever he wants. I really don't care. Well, actually, yeah, there are certain things probably we need him around, so we can't let him do whatever he wants. But
yeah, can't you like cracker to that? I mean, what are we doing? You gotta watch. Dylan says, you think Lions pick first round linebacker or D lineman? Not linebacker.
I think you're at the point though. Yeah, not linebacker. You're at the point though. Defenses. I'm almost. I know offensive line. We talked about like center or tackle, like getting that.
It's edge or.
I think you just go
center.
Defense.
Yeah, I would agree.
Defense. I'm at the point to where it's like look what the Eagles have been doing. They've just been drafting defensive linemen the first round for the last 3 years.
I know.
And that defensive line, like that's a problem. And if you have that and you have what you have offensively right now, you're good. Can I ask you this real quick?
Yep.
Draft analysis. What are like the odds? And you're pretty good with the odds and like positional value. Like getting a tackle that's going to be able to replace Taylor Decker, like value-wise, can you find a guy like a tackle like that outside the first round? Because like you're late first round now. Like you're never going to get a top 10. Like these tackles that your people want to get, those are top 15 picks. Those elite tackles.
Yeah. So you're talking about a few. If you're drafting a future tackle, would he? I mean,
typically you have to get those guys top 15 if you want like a Pro Bowl tackle. So like for me, it's like, okay, if I'm not gonna go tackle in the first round anymore because I'm like you probably get a guy in the second or third round that you can get at the end of the first, in my opinion. Like, unless you're going to go top 15 for an offensive line, I might as well just wait till the second, third, go defensive edge or go defensive line at the end of the first.
I think the right play. Typically, you see centers drafted. You saw Frank in the first round. He's been excellent, but typically you'll see second round guys. That's usually where centers go.
That's where I was like.
So I'm with you. Like you want to draft like the Philadelphia Eagles, kind of prioritize Jalen Carter, different guys, edges. You want to draft an edge. I'm with you there.
Because we had the conversation yesterday. I can't remember if it was Caleb or Lucas who brought up tackle in the first. And it's when I heard that was the first time I thought about the draft, thinking about, all right, offensive line. And instantly I was just like, in my mind, it was like, how many elite like Pro Bowl tackles go the second half of the first round, to where it's like, I would rather prioritize, like you said, the defensive line. And if we can get a lineman or O lineman in the second, third round, I would rather do that. Just based off, and this is where I've learned a lot doing a show with you, or like talking with Adam in the past about draft. Like the positional value means like that changes everything,
dude.
Because those tackles go into
it. Then GMs.
And I know Brad is a guy who's, I'm just going to get my guy, but you do look at it like, hey, if you're not going to get a top, Pro Bowl tackle outside, like it's tough to get them outside of probably the top 10. Those guys are elite. Like,
but it's very much possible. Two things: one, Brad Holmes trades up like he always does. But two, the best player available will probably be a defensive lineman. I think that's possible. We have to ask Scott about like the strength of this class and stuff, but you never know.
I'm kind of dead set on defensive line. I'm a little dead set. Like the Booner path, where we're rolling through a defensive or defensive lineman. That like, we want an edge. We want some depth on that D line.
Let's see here. Ryan, we don't need a draft tackle. We have no gut. Yeah, well, that's fair. For those who don't know, I don't know why you don't know. That's no gut. Manu Giovanni, 6'8", 350, no gut. Come on, look him up. He's a massive human being. Hopefully, he can be the tackle. Hopefully, he can be the future tackle. But he's got some things he's got to figure out now. He's a big boy. He's got to move. You got to learn how to move at his size. That's a huge man. But we'll see. Maybe you'll have him starting.
Super Bowl said to draft another corner. Maybe later in the draft. I wouldn't go early and get one. You just used a first and a second round pick last year on the corner.
Yeah, if I'm Brad, if you're not going to re-sign Carlton, you got to go get a vet in fringe. You got to get a vet, in my opinion. Just bring in someone that's like a proven kind of. It doesn't have to be like this elite guy you pay a bunch of money for, but just someone to hold the fort down a little bit. So I would. It's really important what they do with Carlton, because you got to find a way to replace that. You can't go into next year with Taron Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. Like
I think this offseason, Jeff, I'm just like I said it last year, and I was so adamant on it. I was like, I just don't want to go into the season with the same D line. Like remember I kept saying the Akora brothers gone. I don't want to see them again. Even the Levi O, Josh Pascal. I was like, I don't know. Charles said, like there was just different guys. I was like, what are we doing here? I'm going into this offseason with the same mindset. You better come back next year. You have Zadarius Smith, Aiden Hutchinson. Like you better opt into Zadarius Smith first of all. Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, and Aleem McNeil. Those are your main four guys. You need to figure out how to get more depth at that D line, because if you have injuries again, or if someone goes down, you like first round, like go get me an edge. Go get me someone who can be behind Zadarius, because Zadarius Smith only has 1 year left if you opt in. So it's like, if you don't want to re-sign him, okay, who's next up? Go get one of these SEC edge rushers and go find someone who can create havoc, man. Because you see it around the NFL. Like, again, we keep bringing up the Eagles. They have done such a good job at building that D line through the draft.
They have, yep.
And it's like you need to do something similar. You're at the point your offense is stacked. You have the linebackers. You have the safeties. You're starting to figure out this corner situation. The one thing that just the underlying factor when you lose Aiden Hutchinson is the pass rush. And even when you had Hutch, it was like outside of Hutch, you're not getting pressure. That's, to me, that's like everyone in Detroit should be like, we want an edge rusher. That's what we want. Bottom line.
I see Kevin and a different comment here. I mean, both of them, people want a big defensive tackle as well. I see that. I mean, next Quinnen Williams and an edge in this draft, especially with Zadarius, who I think is easily coming back. Yeah,
again, I'm looking long term. Like, what Zadarius has 1 more year. Like, again, I think Brad looks long term too.
And you just paid Aleem. He's supposed to be your Quinnen Williams. I mean, I'm just being honest. He's supposed to be. You pay him that much money, he should be that guy. But We'll see how that trends. Ryan, no Jack Sawyer though.
I wouldn't mind. Listen.
Did you see the game he had against
don't
Tennessee?
Care, dude. He's 0-4 versus Michigan. I could care less what he does. They can go win a national championship.
Well, hold on. I mean, CJ Stroud's 0-2 against Michigan.
Yeah, not great. Don't care. Now he can come to the Lions. He can, listen. Jack Sawyer can come to the Lions, and he's a great football player. Don't mind. But as of right now, like you're like see his game versus Tennessee. Who cares, dude? Oh, that's cool. He can do that versus Tennessee. Why couldn't he do that versus Michigan?
The clip that makes me laugh is just like, hey, man, they're planting the flag on our field, bro. I'm like, and just him saying, bro, that is an iconic clip. But
oh, man, that's the worst. You don't ever get that out there.
It is a funny clip, but he is a good player. I don't know. That clip did give me kind of the, oh, God. I don't know. Like Hutch, you wouldn't see Hutch doing that shit if he lost. I just don't.
Like this. I want to pull this up. Like, this is why I hate the guy.
Yeah, let me see. He's a great player.
I'm going to mute it because there's music. I don't want to get copyrighted. Can you pull that up?
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Let me know when it's up here. We're good? All right.
Yeah.
Like, this is before. What are you doing, dude? Like, man. He's just out here talking.
He's like the talker. Yeah, I don't know if he
would play football. Dan Campbell, like he might like the chippiness. The talk that though, where it's like, dude,
he's the loudest man in the room, kind of thing.
Yeah, like look at him. And then people are like, "Oh, Michigan was the problem with the brawl at the end of the game." Dude, this guy's a problem. Talking about a locker room guy, I don't know. Maybe he's a good locker room guy. I don't know, but like outside, like shut up.
The problem, we got to be consistent here. People are gonna look at Jack and be like, "Oh, that's passion." That's this. But then if another player does it, that's a problem.
Who else does it?
Yeah, but like I don't give a fuck about. Oh, that's passion. No, that's a problem if you're doing that shit as much as he.
Yeah, like dude, shut up and just go play football, man. Like, leave the other team alone. Like you're just trying to start another fight. Like that's literally all it is. Like you're going over to them and trying to start a fight with them. Like how do you think this Michigan thing started? You went and started it. Like you were the one that ran over there and tried to take the flag. Like, dude, you lost. Walk away. Like, I don't care what happened in Tennessee. You don't leave him alone. It's so annoying, man.
PK Jr. says having Sawyer in the same room as Hutch, clearly behind Hutch, would be incredible, though.
It would be. Listen, football wise, would be great.
Is it because they're similar guys? All right, they're two big white dudes that can get after the quarterback. Like it's like Hutch. It's like he gives you that. Like he's got a little two like Hutches.
He's never like that too, man.
I know. Jack is a good player. He is. PK,
great
you're not wrong.
Player.
You're not wrong, PK. It's just the guy. I get it, and I get this too. I don't care, can he play? I was a huge Jalen Carter guy. He seems to act up in Philly, and there's all these things. I get that. I get that mindset. I get that. But I'm thinking of it. It's not my team. I'm not running it. I'm thinking of it from Dan's perspective.
Can we call a spade here? Super Bowl, obviously, like, don't care. Can he play? That's the opposite of the mindset that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have when bringing him. Like, and this is the argument that I get into with like the Michael Parsons. I got ripped on Twitter by half of the Lions fans because they're like, I would take Michael Parsons and wait. Guys, like, it's not would you take him. Like, anyone would take an all-pro edge rusher to go with Hutch. Anyone would. Like, are you dumb? Yeah, anyone would. The question is the mindset and the culture, is that a piece? Like, no, it's not can he play? No, it's can he fit into your culture? Can he be a locker room guy? And then can he play? That's what it is. That's all it is. And that's where I think Lions fans a little bit, there are still a crowd who just like, I just want guys who can play. That's not what they look at anymore. And if you think if you're like, oh no, they can turn them around because the culture's built. They don't care if the culture's built, man. Like, they still want the right guys in there. Yeah, Super Bowl said, you're not trading for Micah Parsons. What are we doing here? You'll trade. These are the Lions fans that would like trade for anyone. They would take anyone on this team just because they can play football. That's not how Dan and Brad have built this organization. It's just not. It's not.
Yeah, it took me a while to learn that.
Fact, too.
I mean, I wanted Jalen Carter. It made the most sense. Jalen Carter. Didn't happen. You have to.
Super Bowl. what Micah Parsons brings to the field, you would take an all-pro edge rusher. It's the other stuff. You're not taking the other stuff, and Dan Campbell isn't either, and Brad Holmes isn't either. Like, that's just a fact. There's no question behind it. There's no question behind it. This is on Twitter, dude. I showed you, dude. I got ripped. Like an NFL fan base is saying I want to take.
It's a pointless hypothetical. Like they would never trade Micah and pay that man as much as they would pay. Like you can't afford him much. Everyone, Brian, Kirby, it wouldn't make sense financially.
People are like, "I'll do it."
If you want to happen, if you want to see it, fire up Madden in trade form, turn on salary cap, and play with him and see how it'd probably be great.
And you don't have to worry about culture in Madden too.
No, you play football. You just play football. You don't have to worry about Micah recapping the game.
He said you don't have to worry about Micah murdered a whole village or we're acting like that. That's not it. But there are culture fits. There are just culture fits. There are guys who just like that are like out there. It's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, they're just guys who fit and guys who don't.
Ryan says same Chase argument last year. People don't get it, Boone.
People just think like, oh my gosh, that's a big name.
I did that as well. See, it took me a while to get this culture shit. You know, I did. I'll admit, I was there. I said, bring me Chase Young.
Football-wise, when you mature football-wise, not football, but like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes football-wise.
Dan Campbell-wise.
That's when you know you really get it. That's when you know you get it. And there's part of the fan base who doesn't get that yet. They still ride with them. They just don't understand.
Yeah, there's things I would do and there's things Brad does. Now, am I Brad? Absolutely not. That's why I'm here talking with you,
Booner, about football, because I'm not in a front office, but I have opinions. That's why I love talking. And there's things that I would love the Lions to do, and there's things that they'll actually do, and sometimes they don't align. So
that's just the reality.
I learned it. I did. I learned it firsthand. Oh, taking a running back in the first. Oh, he took one. Oh, and he's really good. Okay, well then that's their philosophy on that, and that's fine. I don't have to agree with everything, but I can at least respect it and I can understand it. So, Coach Walk 37, you can never hear anything bad about the St. Brown podcast, but you do Parsons. It's the little things off the field. Yeah, if you listen to his show, his own show, dude, it's just all gossip and it's like bullshit, controversy. He's addressing coaching and stuff like that. Like Amon-Ra and his brother are just shit talking each other, and like it's different. Like Micah's he wants to be more of a media mogul, like a media star as he's playing football.
The example that pops out to me is like a couple weeks ago. I know you're going through a lot in Dallas. Like you're going through it in Dallas. Him walking off the field with time remaining and while your team's still out there playing, like that to me instantly shows he's not a Dan Campbell in this Lions team was 3-13. They started the season 1-6. If the Lions if Micah Parsons was on this football team and the Lions were 1-6, Micah Parsons doing what he did a couple weeks ago, and he's walking off the field, pissed off and not happy on national media. That's not a Dan Campbell thing. Like instantly, that would be one of the biggest stories in the country. And Dan Campbell doesn't like that stuff. And if you're telling me I'm wrong with that, then you obviously have not watched a minute of this Lions football team. You haven't paid attention to this organization, because the fact that they were 3-13 and those guys stood on the sideline, took it, got better, and then they went 1-6 the next year, and they took it, got better, and turned this thing around. We just saw what Micah Parsons did in a team that's won 7 football games and walked off the field with a minute remaining. That would not slide. That's not a Dan Campbell, and it has nothing to do with who the player is. It's what they're like about. Like it's the culture aspect. Now, if Micah Parsons wasn't doing things like that, yeah, dude, I'm play wise. Like when it comes to like statistics and how this guy performs and how good he is, yeah, dude, it has nothing to do with that though.
I want to get to this comment here I just saw earlier.
And I'm so sorry, dude. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I'm just going to continue the Super Bowl thing. He said we're lucky to hit on one player. This guy has never Super Bowl.
No,
You've never watched the Lions. They've hit on million players. Amon-Ra, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. I mean, we could keep going. They don't need to go out there and bring in superstars because they draft superstars.
But there's reason, like the Myles Garrett stuff. Like it's a pipe dream to get these players because it's not just acquiring them, but it's paying them the money they want to pay. It's not happening. Yeah, it's not even worth the combo.
I apologize, Super Bowl.
No, it's not you. It's just on his part. Like, it's a pipe dream.
You're not paying him. You're not paying Hutch and Micah 30 mil a piece. It's not happening. Okay. Let's see. Ball to lie says mailbag. Who wins in week 17, Minnesota or Green Bay?
I'm gonna go look at the spread real quick.
Easy for me. Give me Green Bay. We're running it back.
Do you genuinely think that, or are you?
I genuinely don't. I do not believe the Vikings will sweep the Packers this year.
Okay. Guess what the spread is right now?
What?
Go ahead.
Minus. What was it in Minnesota?
Minnesota.
I would say 2.5 Minnesota.
1.5. It's basically a pick 'em.
Oh, so yeah, I would go Packers.
Yep.
I don't see them sweeping the it's not even me just hoping. I don't think they'll genuinely sweep the Packers.
I'm interested to see how the only tough part about this, Packers play tonight, so they get an extra day's rest, which in the NFL at this point of the year, that is kind of a little advantage for sure.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I watched that Packers-Vikings game. Late in the game, the Packers figured it out. They came back and lost by it was a close game last game, but they didn't look close at first. So I'm gonna go Packers there.
I mean, do you remember last year, Jeff? They knew in Minnesota when they were going to play Minnesota, they knew if they just had to win to win the division. If the Packers win on Sunday, Monday Night Football, with the chance at the division, if we win tonight, you're going into Monday being like, hey, if we win tonight, we win the NFC North. They'll have the shirts there in San Francisco. They're gonna know, hey, if we win tonight, we win. Yeah, we win the NFC North and we get the 1 seed. And on top of it, remember last year, where did they lose the NFC Championship game? In San Francisco.
Yeah, same place they lost it. Yep.
There's a video that's out there right now from after the game last night that Amon Ra said that was one of the worst tastes in my mouth that I've ever had, feelings that I've ever had leaving that stadium last year. They have a chance if the Packers win. They have a chance to kind of turn that around and win their division in San Francisco. That would be incredible.
Yeah, honestly, the more I think about it, I think they're going to be so pissed off. They're not going to lose this game. There's no way.
I'm excited.
Yeah, they're locked in. Yeah, by the way, Coach Walk, before we get to this mailbag question, Christmas wish for the Lions. I'll say no one else get hurt, please.
No injuries yesterday.
That's good.
That was the first time in a while, dude.
Moving in the positive direction. But besides that, a genuine wish, I wish Carlton Davis returns at some point. That'd be the ultimate Christmas wish. Yep.
Can I?
Maybe NFC Championship game, he just comes out and he's like, I'm here. And you're like, okay, awesome.
Is this obvious or am I going crazy? Am I not allowed to use this as an answer? Christmas wish for the Lions, Super Bowl?
I mean, yeah. I was trying to think more because that's a good one. It's a good one.
Just want to win a Super Bowl, man.
I probably should have said that. That's probably the obvious one. Yeah.
I get what you're thinking.
Fuck it. We'll go Super Bowl. Let's go.
If I had one wish, dude, if I had one wish or if I had 2 wishes, I probably definitely would just go let's somebody get a Super Bowl, please.
So you just want to just fuck all the other stuff. Give me a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'll figure out money and all of that. I don't want to wish for to be rich or anything. Just give me a Super Bowl. I'll be happy the rest of my life.
I love that.
We'll find happiness.
Ball don't lie. He says Jordan Love was hurt last time as well. Yeah, he was when they faced the Vikings. So they're gonna get him back. They'll get him back.
We need them to have a nice, healthy game tonight, the Packers.
Who do they play?
The Saints. They're 14.5-point favorite.
Ooh. Damn.
It's a big spread. I'm going to take the Saints.
John says, you took the Patriots. You got me there. I had a terrible week. I don't even want to know the record.
Me too. I'm going to have to look. I'm going to look in a little bit. When we get down here, I'll check it real quick, but it's not good.
John says, Mailbag, is there a show later? Is this today's show? I came in late. This is today's show. We're going live 10 to 12 today and tomorrow. So just because of the Christmas Eve, now it's Monday, getting kind of consistent, back-to-back shows, same time. And then we'll have no show on Christmas. So.
And then Thursday, we're back to normal Thursday, 8 p.m.
Yep. So that's the schedule.
What happened with C.J. Gardner-Johnson yesterday? What did I miss?
It was he got into a disqualification, a little back and forth with some player, and you got a flag thrown, and I think he might have swung. I don't know. I didn't see the clip, but it was disqualification, player misconduct, whatever it was, personal fouls, guys throwing flags and shit. Yeah, Just
Wow.
it's honestly just another day. It's just TJ Gardner-Johnson getting into some beef.
I'll say
And
this:
he gets-
we had a parlay yesterday for Sunday Night Football. Those turnovers yesterday killed us. We 15 yards from Mike Evans. Everything I had on the game last night was really just for Mike Evans to get like 70 or something or whatever it was. Or I can't remember the exact. Maybe it was 80 something. It was destiny for him to get that line.
Hey, you know what I put in on the side?
15 yards short.
I put in Bucky Irving over receiving.
Did
I
you
put
hit?
in, yeah, because I knew both running backs were going to go off, so I was like, all right, I'll put in our parlay, and then I'll put in the little Bucky. I put in more money on our parlay, so I lost, but I still got a little money.
Got
back.
some money back. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you.
Mike
that's how you
Evans
should
really
do it.
screwed a lot of America yesterday.
Dude, I had a couple different plays last night, and the one that we had was my biggest one, but there was a couple smaller ones that I had. Every single one just missed because of Mike Evans. And honestly, down the stretch, he needed only 15 more yards. If they don't fumble the ball there, I don't know if you saw, who was it, Bucky or Rashad White, whoever it was that fumbled, just has the ball in his hand running like this. And then, like, if you're a DB and you see that, like, you're going to punch the ball out. And that's what happened. So it's like, what are we doing? Whoever that was, I can't remember the running back. They do have two really good running backs. So Bucky and Rashad White are two. That's a good duo that they have there too.
Yeah, they do. Both guys are going to get like 30 yards a week receiving. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're good.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you all, by the way. Happy holidays. Appreciate you all for tuning in yesterday, today.
We're live tomorrow too, so don't forget. This isn't the final Merry Christmas.
Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow. We'll get into more of this upcoming week and what to kind of expect around the NFL. Talk more NFC, 1 seed, division, everything and more. But until then, Jeff Booner, Crunch Time Sports. Subscribe, get your merchandise, officialctsports.com. But until tomorrow morning, be safe out there, everyone, and happy holidays.